Today is a new week. Today is Monday, and here we are at Oh So Curious, presenting to you DCU Daily. Here it is. Welcome back, all regulars, or if you're new, welcome to the show. We hope you enjoy. We hope you like. We hope you subscribe. We hope you comment. But even if you don't do that, we still appreciate your viewership anyway. So, with all of that, what is in store for this wonderful Monday? Well, we have tons of box office to talk about because usually, we talk about box office now more frequently. Monday and Friday are still the biggest days because it's always pre and post weekend projections and after the fact. So what is it today? Well, we're talking about Minions and Monsters because that was its, big debut this weekend. So we're going to be talking about that. Did it work? Did it not work? Because Minions is a very kind of hit and miss kind of franchise in terms of money. So we'll be talking about that. And we're also, unfortunately, going to be talking about Supergirl because it did not have that great of a weekend. So unfortunately, we have to talk about all of that. Yes, we have to talk about even the uncomfortable stuff we don't want to talk about. Yes, unfortunate, but to be talked about. Then we have a couple more record-breaking events for Michael because that shit is somehow still in theaters because, people just love the King of Pop. So we will be talking about how Michael is still breaking records to this very day, even for a movie that was released all the way back in April. So there's that. We have another little bit of Young Washington to talk about because somehow Christian propaganda with generative AI beat a DC film at the box office. What strange times we live in. But we have that to talk about, as well as projections for Spider-Man Brand New Day in a couple weeks, of course. But then outside of box office report, we have a bit of MCU Weekly. We have some Secret Wars leaks that we will be talking about, as well as a couple of Brand New Day things, as well as a sneaking star who a little freaky gal might make her MCU debut, ? So we'll be talking about that. As a little bit of Business of Hollywood once Dan gets in. He's going to be talking about that because I couldn't care less about that kind of thing. Then a bit of Movie Talk Madness. And then, of course, today's Monday. We got Mount Rushmore Monday to talk about, and you guys picked your Desert Island picks, so we'll be talking about those. And then, what else is there? Quick hits. We have a bunch of Odyssey quick hits, so we'll be getting into those. Then, of course, DCU Daily. We have our DC quick hits. We have a little bit of Batman Part 2 stuff to talk about. And then, of course, even though it's not really the summer of Supergirl, it's more like the seasonal depression of Supergirl, we're still going to be talking about that, what this could mean for the future of the film in the DCU. So, of course, all of that and more after this Knuff intro.
It doesn't seem to matter what I do. I'm always the number two.
All right, mister, I need to paint my abs on to get nominated. You don't see Robert Downey doing that.
You're kidding. You're kidding.
I can't open the envelope without the...
Warner Brothers is heading back into the Matrix with a new movie in the works.
Wonder what other surprises are in store.
I want to be Bruce Wayne.
I like that.
You're gonna love me.
There's the shot, right there. That.
Okay, we don't need to see
Right there.
You look ridiculous.
Well, not no more, he don't.
What, dude? I can barely understand you. Your accent's insane.
What
Give me a hand up. Nope, I'm actually okay. Thank you very much.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Welcome one and all to DCU Daily proper, the news portion of our lovely show. I'm John. Lovely to see you all. Make sure to give us a like, a comment, and a subscribe or a dislike. I don't know. Honestly, get a dislike in before YouTube gets rid of them entirely. So, screw it. Just throw that one in there. But I'm not alone. Of course, I have Dan in here. Dan, how are you doing on this fine Monday? Are you Are you ready to take on
Uh,
the behemoth of Box Office Report and DCU Daily? Are you ready, as well as Mount Rushmore Monday?
No, I am. I absolutely. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun. There's a lot to talk about. Oh, it's a Monday, right? Um, consolation to the U.S. national team. I mean, hey, look, there's levels to this game, so maybe another 4 years and they'll do better. But anywho, yeah. There was a lot going on over the weekend. A lot of news. Hello, Caleb. Nice photo.
Neil Breen.
Yeah.
Perfect. But
Monique was here,
Monique
of course.
in the chat, I had a hamburger
Monique.
earlier. It was a reheated burger from like, a couple days ago, but it was still pretty good.
Yeah.
Enterprising still bemoaning about the state of the DCU, which that's fair. Like we all feel kind of a little distraught in this day and age with how Supergirl's doing at the box office, but
Yeah.
don't worry,
It's a good
it'll all
question,
be
though.
okay.
You know what? We'll talk about it later. Like, what can they do? I think that's a good question worth asking.
But
yeah.
ooh, Enterprising, fucking spam in the chat. Holy shit! But Caleb also here.
Hey,
Hello.
Steven. Yeah.
We have a very specific DCU story just for you, Caleb, that I know you'll love, and I know Dan put it in there just for you. So we're gonna be talking about that. Hi, Steven. D. Cole is in here as well. But thank you. Yeah, I mean, of course, Neil Breen, greatest filmmaker of all time. Like, come on now. But thank you everyone for joining us on this wonderful Monday, because the first thing we have to talk about is, of course, box office.
Yeah.
Fangs.
Hey, figure drawing. Yeah.
But
you guys didn't send your picks in. I mean, you know what? Okay, I'm just gonna say this. We have a ton of picks, but like Monique just sent hers in. I did not get into any fireworks this weekend, unfortunately, Steven.
No,
but, I heard a lot of
see.
people.
I still have all 10 of my fingers, so I did not do any fireworks this weekend. So I have all fucking 10 of my toes, but you're not seeing that unless we start an So Curious OnlyFans. But that's you guys don't get feet pics just yet. All right, that's for the special members. All right. So let's although speaking of July 4th, we got to talk about this past weekend, and of course, Minions and Monsters. Apparently, it quote unquote fizzles over 4th of July weekend with franchise low at 61 million debut, which is like more than half of like what Supergirl has earned so far. But that's whatever.
Hey, Arcade. Hello, happy birthday. Happy belated birthday to Arcade, by the way. That's awesome. That is awesome. Dude, I'm not okay. I love Trek, but let's be honest, none of the Trek movies are all that good. I mean, some of them are good, but they're not
hang
good
on.
enough
Don't
to
be
take on
messing
an
with
island
Wrath of
with you.
Khan and the Voyage.
I'm just saying they're not good enough to take on it. Just because my last name is Khan doesn't mean I need to love the shit out of it. I'm like, come on. But anyway, yeah, the fireworks aren't legal in a lot of places. But I mean, John, yeah, you're talking about Minions and Monsters. I mean, we have several movies we're gonna kind of address individually, but I figured we start off with the big new release of the weekend, Minions and Monsters.
The big kahuna.
Remember? Yeah, the big look, it's got an A- cinema score. We talked about it last week, but remember this, like originally when we were looking at long-term forecasting, they were thinking 100 to 125 million. I remember a number, the highest I saw the long-term projections calling for was like 150. Eventually, the closer we got, the number kept dropping. I think last week at one point we were talking about 80 million, and then the number dropped again. And I think they were predicting it was going to do maybe like 60 something, like in the mid 60s, maybe could over index to 80. But then ultimately what ended up happening is, well, I mean, despite one of the highest Rotten Tomato scores in the franchise, as well as, of course, an A- cinema score. So clearly audiences that did go to see it liked it, even loved it. Minions and Monsters, $61 million debut is a franchise low. I believe when they were looking at this number yesterday, John, it was sitting at like 64, 65 million. And that would have been just above the franchise low, because the original movie Despicable Me was 56 million, but that was only Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Since we're counting it over like 5 days from Wednesday through Sunday, the original Despicable Me made a little bit more. So, and then of course if you account for inflation, that number goes up higher. But and that was 2010. So yeah, 61 million is low. I mean, when the numbers got revised with the actuals, as they call it, on Monday, with the actual numbers rather than just studio predictions based on what they were hearing from the distributors, Yeah, I mean, it just came in a little low. I haven't seen the movie yet, so I don't know like why people. I mean, look, this movie does kind of try to elevate the material because they're dealing with the silent era. It's not just it's. I mean, they still had do their dumb hijinks and stuff like the physical comedy that the Minions are known for, but there is more of a story to this. So I don't know if any of you guys have seen this movie and whether you think like maybe that was a problem. Like I don't know if that like that to me sounds like a good thing. Like if they're actually going to try to tell a story that's worth watching rather than just a bunch of sketch comedy bits throughout the movie. I thought the second Minions was an improvement over the first, and you had more Gru, which I think helped. This one doesn't really have that. So but yeah, I mean it's doing well with the critics, is doing well with the audiences, but not enough people going to see it. Monique said she dry rubbed baby back ribs, Dr. Pepper baked beans, and honeydew melon. That sounds like a great 4th of July meal.
Don't be ruining Dr. Pepper by putting beans in that shit. Come on now.
Caleb has talked to Letterboxd bros and they say the film is pretty good. They finally watched a film that isn't Fight Club.
Hey, I am a Letterboxd bro, and I resent that very much. But I will say,
Caleb
not my fault that David Fincher
with a zinger right
fucking
there.
was made a fucking phenomenal movie.
Now here's the thing, John. Like these are family films, right? Like 4-quadrant animated movies. So this will play for a while and likely will have some legs. I don't know how big the legs will be. The Minions tend to, be low riders, if you know what I mean. So that being said, this was kind of like part of, because if this was the biggest movie at the box office, you gotta wonder, because like for example, the other thing in the headline here shows that Supergirl suffered a brutal 77% drop. I think that number was sitting at 74% yesterday, and then the number went up because the percentage number went up because the actual amount of money Supergirl made was less than what they were looking at on Sunday. So yeah, and then even like the other movies at the box office, Toy Story 5, it did well, like it was in the 30s, 30 million odd. And I think Angel Studios Young Washington did enough to potentially, greenlight a sequel, which we'll talk about later. Actually, it did. I think it was the second best opening for Angel Studios since, what was the one about human trafficking? Sound of Freedom. It's the second best since then. So anyway, like I wanted to kind of point out something here there, John. If you're able to scroll down in this article, I'm looking at it on my side. If you keep going down to I think past even Supergirl, because we'll talk about Supergirl in a minute. It's not good. It's not looking good for Supergirl, which by the way only dropped all the way to 4. The Invite from A24 did well. Jackass had a big drop, but like what else can you expect? If you go down to Although Hollywood, right, that paragraph right there. I just want to read that quickly. If you zoom in a little bit, it says, although Hollywood is enjoying the best summer since COVID, this weekend was a setback in terms of the industry's recovery. At the end of June, popcorn season was 17% ahead of the same point from last year in 2025 and 1.7% behind 2019, which isn't bad because 2019 was a pretty big year, and the last year before the pandemic. Now that's according to Rent-Track, of course, which, that's the big company that tracks all this. They said now the summer stretch is 11.9% above 2025 and 7.25 behind 2019. John, we lost like almost 5 to 6% percentage points on both of those. So basically we're still ahead of last year, but it's like 6% less, and we're still behind 2019 by 6% more.
I think the Odyssey and Spider-Man will definitely help those numbers out, but
yeah, well, but that's the thing though. Well, figure out, but this is what I'm talking about. Like, here's the thing. The reasons here are different. Why Minions opened for less than it could have. I mean, I don't think it's the same reason why Supergirl did. Those are two different, some overlap, but two still very different movies, very different reasons. But hello to Movie Spud. Yeah, we hope you had a good holiday. We got your picks coming up later in, Mount Rushmore Monday. But basically, John, like what they're talking about here is, like you said, is the Odyssey and Spider-Man are gonna do just fine, and they're gonna help rescue the box office for the weekend, for the summer, I should say, because we're still on track to have a 4 billion plus summer box office. It would still be the one of the biggest since the pandemic. I mean, in fact, the only time that's happened since the pandemic was 2023 when Oppenheimer and Barbie helped the summer box office to $4 billion. Now, if you look ahead, John, I believe last year at this point, the only big movie left was Fantastic Four. So versus to now, this year, we got, the Odyssey and Spider-Man Brand New Day coming out. So two of the biggest movies of the summer have yet to come out, which is why I think a lot of theaters are still very confident that the money's going to keep rolling in. It just happens to be because it was the bicentennial, the semi-bicentennial, like the 250th birthday of America. Basically, a lot of people chose to not go to the movies, but instead go do other things, you know, whether it's hang out with family, go watch fireworks. There was a lot of other, not just like at the national level, but like the big stuff you saw on the news, but there were a lot of community events celebrating 4th of July in an even bigger way than you usually do. So I think that's the reason why this weekend, like overall, they were expecting like 150 some odd $1 million of like sales, and you got like 120 something. So there was a drop as a whole. I mean, and you know, when you look at that number, Minions still took like half of that. So Minions got off to a good start. I mean, in fact, John, even abroad, we have a headline in China, Minions and Monsters opened to number 1 as well. And they brought in like $16 million US. Keep Real opened second, which I believe is a local movie, so like a Chinese film. So yeah, I mean, Minions are doing just fine. They'll be fine. In fact, if you go to the box office report, the Ankler, I think, is what I had open earlier. They sent a really good, you know, newsletter, and they were kind of talking about you know, where we are moving forward for the year. Let me just kind of quickly go ahead. So this is, when you look at this weekend, the 4th of July weekend, this year we got 120 million domestic. Last year was 157. You could see like all the way to, you know, 2019, 184, 2018, 189, you know, Avengers movies coming out in the summer months. So, you know, big drop. But when you look at it, you know, ahead for this summer, we still have a couple of big hits coming. So I think we'll be just fine. It's nothing to worry about too much. In fact, John, if you have the charts, let's take a look at the top 10 for the weekend real quick, and then we'll dive into some of the other movies on that list. So here's your top 10 worldwide. Enterprising, you worked on the 4th. That's, hey man, hopefully you're able to rest up a little bit after that, though. That's you know, that's not a lot of people that I knew personally were working on the 4th, so I hope that you you know, got a chance to rest after. But John, are you surprised by any of these? Toy Story 5 still in second, made $100 million globally in its second weekend. Then of course Minions and Monsters made 121.4 million. So you could see the domestic number that doubled.
Obsession and Backrooms are still making
money.
Like that's crazy,
this is something
bro.
I want to point out, John. There were two big milestones those movies passed. Obsession crossed 400 million, and Backrooms crossed 350 million in their worldwide.
It also helps with the Backrooms. You had the re-release that happened this weekend. So
the
that
15-minute, which counts. It counts as the same thing, even though they're technically, like, you would have had to book for it separately, right? Because like there were both versions playing this weekend. So yeah.
Yep.
Hey, Enterprise,
which I did
see a little bit.
By the way, you know, for anybody who really wants to see the Everything Must Go edition, it's just 15 minutes of a post-credit scene of like the company, you know, roaming the back rooms, and that's essentially it. Still very good. It's still a great movie. It's just like
brings in the crowd.
Like, this is an extended cut. It's just like, no, it's just a 15-minute post-credit scene. That's all it is. Which some people really wanted to see because they loved Kane Parsons' Back Rooms on YouTube. So it fits into more of what those people wanted. But I don't know. It just felt weird that it's like, yeah, you know what it is? Re-releasing it.
It's not that different from when they re-released Spider-Man No Way Home with like an extra 10-15 minutes, right? Like, it's, if you like more of what you want to see, I mean, that was like months after, so people had to go see it again because the normal version was not in theaters anymore. So, but hey, you know what? Good for Backrooms. And then, of course, Young Washington, we're going to talk about in a minute, came out and, you know, opened to number 3 of its $20.8 million. John, pretty much 19 point something came from America. So it's a very small footprint internationally, because it's mostly released in the U.S. So
I mean, it says here that
it's only U.S. Territory. Holy cow! So the actual number went up. Now that 20.8 million is the record for Angel Studios opening weekend. That's more than Sound of Freedom, and then it's just U.S. So it's not even about. Okay, well, I mean, that's good. I mean, for Angel Studios, that's good. Disclosure Day
for
dropping
the people
all the way
that
to
watched
7.
it because it was apparently fucking ass. But you know.
I heard Keep Real's kind of okay. I've heard about
Never
that
heard of it until
I was reading some article, and I was like reading into like what the movie's about. It sounded pretty okay to me. Disclosure Day coming in at around 216 million worldwide. That's John. I feel like Disclosure Day at this point, you could probably say that movie's not going to make its money back when you account for like the marketing budget and the production budget. So that's going to be tricky. Supergirl we have talked about. We'll talk about more. A Toy Story, John. Right now, Michael is the highest grossing movie of the year, which we'll talk about also in a minute. But do you think Toy Story is well on its way? It's only been in release now for a couple of.
I mean, I think it'll be Michael, then it'll be Toy
beating
Story
it.
5, then it'll be Spider-Man, and then probably Doomsday. But yeah, like you're still gonna keep getting one upped. But Michael
Yeah,
is is definitely gonna be the highest grossing for right now. I think Toy Story is 5 is gonna usurp it, and then Brand New Day is gonna fucking dunk on that even harder. And then Doomsday, we'll see, but it's probably gonna beat Spider-Man.
I mean, look, I did read some reviews for Young Washington. Some of the positive ones are, obviously really talking up the movie. Some of the negative ones also saying like the movie feels like it's like, like, well, it's like what I call like fake patriotism or something. I don't know. I forget the wording, but
Yeah,
it is.
Because the thing is, from all it's like essentially like it's Christian propaganda. That's all it is. It's just
Well, I think for that-
propaganda for like these conservatives that want to see like, oh yes, George Washington, ultimate patriot, blah blah blah, all that stuff. So if you want to see that kind of thing, then sure. But it also uses generative AI and is not accurate
I didn't know it
at
did that.
all. Yeah.
Well, but hey, look, if you're a history buff and you want to watch something like that, like it does appeal to Middle America quite a bit, which I think was a big,
Oh yeah, of course it does.
demographic that a lot of the big studios don't address. I think the last big studio picture that kind of addressed that part of the country very specifically was like American Sniper, and that made like 350 million domestic and went on to be like one of the highest grossing biopics of all time. So Angel Studios has got a niche, and obviously they're leaning into it, which is good. So they're as just a business on just a business basis. Like if you're gonna run a good business, you gotta like try to address an audience that's not currently being addressed, and that's what Angel Studios is doing. Hey Georgie, look, people are saying hi to you. Look, Georgie said say hello. Okay, all right, John, let's keep going. We got other movies to talk about.
Yes, like got to talk about this. Let's just
Supergirl, yay! Hey John,
let's
look,
get through this as quickly as possible.
Let's on a positive note, Supergirl just passed $100 million
on a $175 million budget,
and it crossed $100 million worldwide in its second weekend. Now, this number actually here is a bit outdated because over the weekend they were saying it made 9.6 million at the domestic box office, and that it was a 74% drop. We just looked at the number. If you go back to the I don't know actually if the Hollywood Reporter article, actually there's a domestic chart on there as well. If you scroll up, I think
there's that one.
Yeah, so the actual number, if you go back to the Hollywood Reporter charts, I think they have a domestic value. The final number for Supergirl's second weekend was even lower. Actually, you know what? Go ahead to the numbers.com. If you go ahead to the numbers.com is where they give you the final number, because 71% or 74% would have been bad. But these are the final tallies for the domestic box office. 8.6 million. It was $1 million less than what they were predicting over the weekend, which wouldn't matter much if it was like, 50 million, 60 million. But 77% drop is not good right now. The movie is sitting at 57.4, just about 57.5 million total domestic. So again, trying to look on the bright side, it's getting, about 42% of its gross is coming from international. So it's not too bad. But John, like, again, based on just the 74% drop from over the weekend, by comparison, which now we know that drop was 77%. So Supergirl had a 77% second weekend drop. The Flash had a 72.5% second weekend drop, and Morbius had a 73.8% second weekend drop. It's just like a situation where the movie keeps dropping and the box office is getting worse. Like we were talking about, the movie might lose 120 million for the studio. At this point, I think a lot of those industry analysts are revising their predictions. They're thinking, look, now, based on how big of a second weekend drop it's had, for a big major comic book movie, 150 million plus budgeted any genre movie, a second weekend 77% drop after your first weekend was a sub $100 million weekend. It's really bad. It's just bad. And I feel like at this point the movie deserves better than it's actually getting, because like, look, I feel like it's better than The Flash. Not by much, but it is better than The Flash. It's definitely better than Morbius. It just, I don't think it deserves this much of not even just hate. I feel like it's apathy. People are not going to see it at all. Like 8.6 million, like it's just terrible numbers like that. It took 3 or 4 weekends for Backrooms and Obsessions to drop into that territory, a sub 8-figure weekend box office domestically. Yeah, it's just becoming, yeah, like you're saying, enterprising. It's a major flop. Like, it's not even just like, we were all hoping for 300 to 400 million, like it's across the life of the movie's box office. I think after opening weekend they were like, oh, we'll even settle for 200 million. Last week I was talking 150 million. But with the precipitous drop right now, I'm like, is it gonna get to 150 million? It's just, you know, it's you know, yeah, I'm sure there's some Snyder cultists out there who are celebrating, and I don't know. Like, it's really, really unfortunate, because I feel bad for the filmmakers. I feel bad for the actors, right? Because I thought Jason Momoa did a pretty good job playing Lobo. I thought Eve Ridley did a pretty good job with Ruthie. I thought Millie Alcock was fantastic as Supergirl. Again, the material they were given. I love David Krumholtz's Zor-El, and you know, I even loved Emily Beecham's character. I forget the name of the mother, but you know, like, and even David Cornsweet, like, making an extended cameo in the film. The movie deserved better. And obviously we know we'll talk about it again later in the show, why things went so wrong. And we'll get into it, and we'll do a deep dive about like what this means for the DCU, because who's Black Dynamite? Okay. But Figure Drawing saying Millie was doomed to fail. She's better than what this movie offered her. Absolutely. Absolutely. I don't think Millie Alcock failed, by the way. I think she did a good job in the film. She did a great job. I just feel like the movie, this should have been a better film. And what I'm working on right now is, you know, putting together like a timeline, like an anatomy of a failure sort of a situation, about like all the things that were said about this movie by the writer, by the director, by James Gunn, Peter Safran, everything, all the reporting we have heard over the months, to try to visualize. I was like, am I gonna end up like Bruce Wayne in the Batman, just painting the floor with question mark and arrows pointing to, like, you know, what's the mystery behind Supergirl's mega flop? Because it's just one of those situations where they took a risk, and unfortunately the absolute worst, even worse than, I don't think anybody would have thought this bad of an outcome would have been possible for Supergirl. Like, it's not even, I feel like if I was to say this was the absolute worst possible outcome for Supergirl, I think nobody thought the floor for this movie was maybe not even $150 million. You know, like, even at its worst, I feel like the DCEU movies did better. We used to have a graphic. Let me see if I can find this, because I think it's worth looking at right now when you do a comparison. Again, it's a bit of a fool's errand, because, you know, the DCEU is long gone, and we don't need to really, you know, rehash that too much. But I think it's worth noting, considering, you know, how far this movie has dropped. That, like, because the DCEU, I feel like there were very few movies that came in this low. Like, I don't know, you guys let me know. I don't think there were there any, I mean, other than the movies in the pandemic, were there any movies that made less than $150 million? Like, I genuinely struggle to remember if that was ever the case, because it's blowing my mind. Like, it's just really bad. Yeah, movies saying so disappointing is such a flop. Enterprising thing, it's not as bad as this showing, but it is what it is. Yeah, exactly. It's exactly. It's a lot worse than than it deserves to be. Like, this is the DCEU, the timeline of the DCEU. I believe that includes every movie but minus Aquaman 2, which made like close to 500 million, so that doesn't account for it. But if you look at the final box office tally for every DCEU movie minus the second Aquaman, which, like I said, made almost 500 million. Wonder Woman made 166.4, Wonder Woman 1984, I should say. Birds of Prey crossed 200 million. Shazam! Fury of the God made 132.2 million. We'll talk about it later in the show, but I feel like right now Supergirl's probably looking at a box office that's similar to Shazam! Fury of the Gods, and Shazam! 2's budget was lesser than Supergirl. They spent 125 million making that. Obviously, it's not going to get to Flash territory, which I think the final tally on that was 271. Blue Beetle 128.2. That's another one, but again, made for less money. So yeah, Dan can enlist his cats to help him build one of those thumbtack yarn walls with pages everywhere. That would be a great exercise. I bet the cats would love that figure drawing. What are your feelings on Supergirl Black Dynamite? Do let us know, because I'd love to hear from you. But yeah, like even the Suicide Squad, the James Gunn Suicide Squad movie that came out during the pandemic made 167 million. It's just, yeah. I mean, we know like the DCEU died because you got like there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Black Adam was really on, the edge in terms of whether it was profitable or not. But you literally had, if you account Black Adam as a flop, 6 flops in a row in the DCEU, and that's what killed it ultimately. And you can see the decline in quality too. Yeah, and you know what? When we do the whole timeline of like the anatomy of a failure segment, I think a big part of Supergirl's problem was like the direction they went with, and what Craig Gillespie pitched and how it ended up turning out. I think the visual look and tone of the film was a big problem. It just completely, especially when he marketed it as a Woman of Tomorrow adaptation, it just visually is not that at all. The fact that Craig Gillespie himself talked about it as like a Mad Max, like, oh, that's a good comparison. And then every other review early on, even the social media reactions were talking about Mad Max. I think obviously, it's so far off the mark. It's not that DC is cursed. I just wish they had, made better choices with this. And I don't think DC's popularity isn't the issue. I don't think that's the case. But I mean, look, Black Dynamite, if you haven't seen the movie, go see it, and then, we'll talk about it. But like, I think the movie is better than what it's getting, both with the critics, audiences, and especially at the box office. Yeah. All right. Well, John, let's keep going, because beyond Supergirl, we'll talk about Supergirl. We'll circle back to it later in DCU Daily. But we do have to get into, the box office of Michael, because Michael is beating it. And right now, Michael just beat The Passion of the Christ, $370.8 million, which was the previous record to become the highest grossing biopic of all time in the US of A.
I mean, it's not wrong, but it's like, it's weird to call, like, in my head, like, yeah, it's right, it's a biopic, but like, it's weird to call that Passion of the Christ about Jesus a biopic.
I know, it was like,
it's not wrong,
biopic,
but it's also
it's not
like,
wrong, but it's also like
it's technically, but like, it's also,
a Jesus biopic. I'm like, it's like, well, I'm trying to think of an analogy, but I can't really think of it. It's almost like saying if like The Office was a biopic for Michael Scott. I don't know, like even that doesn't feel right,
Jesus
because
was a real guy. It's just,
it was, yeah. I never really thought of it as a biopic, but hey, I guess it counts. I guess it counts.
It's about a guy,
it's about
a very magical man, but like, whether he actually did those feats is up in the air, but
if you look at the Bible as like the the autobiography of Jesus, then maybe Passion of the Christ
then
is
sure.
the biopic.
And the protagonist doesn't even come in until halfway through, so that's crazy.
Hey, I hope we get more of him in the second one if you have an interest in the film. But yeah, Michael, he its way to $177,000 on the 10th Thursday of release, which was a 55% drop from the previous Thursday. But John, it's 10 weeks in release, and the movie's still doing really well. And it's already on digital, and it's lost another 700 theaters last Friday. So it's playing with fewer and fewer theaters, but it's still making money, just enough to, like, again, keep climbing. They also mention here that the 370.8 million gross for Michael now beats the Rise of Gru, speaking of Minions, the previous Minions movies, 370.5 million run. So yeah, it's the 65th highest grossing movie of all time domestically. And it might add another, couple of million before it's done. Like, they're thinking on the high end, 375 million domestic by the time it's done, which is very impressive. Anytime a movie does over 350 million at the U.S. box office, that's an impressive, place to be. So, yeah. Is there another one? I think there's another bit for Michael that we have to get into, but yeah. The Michael movie, you look at again. the list. I mean, I talked about American Sniper before. American Sniper definitely more of a biopic than Passion of the Christ. That did 350. So yeah, Michael is up there now. Also, it's basically gonna probably just cross $1 billion once it's all said and done. So yeah, an interpretation, maybe a biopic interpretation. Well, you know what, John? I feel like if we are calling the Passion of the Christ a very loose biopic of Jesus, I think it works because Michael is also a very loose biopic of Michael Jackson.
And you know what else is a loose biopic is Young Washington, because it's like, speaking of Jesus, we got praise George praise Jeebus Washington is presented through propaganda. Ain't that fun? But
I think it was performative patriotism is what I read in one of the reviews. But
yes,
I mean, obviously it's gotten some good reviews.
I mean, if you like it, that's fine. It's just like I saw a trailer for this, and I'm like, this is just so like circle jerking, fucking American nationalism dog shit, and I'm like, oh my god, fucking.
But John,
shoot
here's
me.
the thing: it came in
just go
third
rewatch
behind
John
Minions
Adams.
and Toy Story.
Yeah, come on now.
It's obviously there's an audience for it. A lot of Middle America. I mean, it is a lot of it, unfortunately, in the U.S. Along political lines in terms of like where people land on that spectrum. But nonetheless, Young Washington was the biggest opening for any Angel Studios movie, now with the final number being 20.8 million. This talked about 19 million, which was the number over the weekend. But when the actual tally came in, it made over 20 million, which made it the highest opening in the US for Angel Studios, Sound of Freedom being the previous high. That makes it good enough for them to greenlight a sequel. They're already working on a sequel called 1776. So now, having seen the movie, I have a feeling that means this movie doesn't quite go all the way to the revolution. It's sort of like the early days of George Washington, and then we will get there. So hey, they're making a sequel. So if you guys are a fan of the movie, if you're gonna go see it, if you haven't seen it and you want to, then you know that the story will continue. Sure, I don't know if at the end of the movie they say George Washington will return, or the story continues. But now we know that indeed the story will continue. So there you go, Young Washington, 1776. Which
Young
don't
Washington
confuse that
will
for like
appear in Avengers Doomsday.
Don't confuse that for like a Taylor Sheridan project. 1776 is not a Taylor Sheridan universe movie, as far as we know.
And it's not going to be based on the
own
much
thing.
superior musical either. So
yeah,
sit down, John. Anyway, but
hey, we got
speaking of
Spider-Man stuff
Avengers
to talk
Doomsday,
about.
we got Spider-Man. Which, by the way, speaking of generative AI, this picture looks like AI. This doesn't.
It's
this
gone
does not
through a
look real.
filter. It definitely I feel like somebody put that through a filter, like because like Tom Holland's face looks animated here. It either incomplete or whatever.
Like he looks too much like the Giga Chad like thing. Like, and also like why did the fucking webs look like that? Why are they like splitting off and there's like little crumbs everywhere? I'm like,
dude, this is from the scene where he's fighting the Hand in prison. It's a shot in the trailer. But anyway, so Cinema Solace was reporting that Spider-Man Brand New Day is eyeing a $550 million opening weekend at the worldwide box office. $500 million with no IMAX screens, John. We talked about it just in the US alone. It's looking at a $230 to $250 million opening weekend. Those are rough estimates, but you add to that it looks like another $300 million internationally. And Spider-Man is going to have made $550 million, $500 million in its opening weekend. Your thoughts on this? Are you surprised at all by this number?
No.
Like,
Bro's the most popular superhero in the world. Come on now.
I mean, it's one of those things where this movie's going to have no trouble making $1 billion if it's getting off to that kind of a start. Like, think about it. Like, just do the math quickly. If it drops 65% in a second weekend and over, off of a $230 million start, it's still going to make over $100 million in the second weekend. That means another $200 million worldwide. So this movie will be like where Toy Story is after 3 weeks in less than 2 weeks. I mean, I think if it gets off to that kind of a start, 2 billion is back on the board. Like, I think it's very possible Spider-Man Brand New Day can make 2 billion because there's no other big blockbuster coming out after it heading into the fall months. So it will have all the screens. And then, 3 weeks in, Nolan is no longer going to have exclusivity with the Odyssey on IMAX. And I bet you people are going to want to go back and see it in IMAX too. So especially if they like tag something connecting it to Avengers Doomsday in the post-credit scene. So yeah. But anyway, John, speaking of Spider-Man Brand New Day, we do have some hot toys to look at, which give it. I think the suit looks better as in the hot toy than it even does in the movie. Honestly,
it's 110% giving Andrew Garfield in Amazing Spider-Man 2,
right?
vibes. Like 100%.
Because like the shimmery texture of the suit, I like the look here. It's also the spider looks very similar to the design to the Andrew Garfield one. So yeah. It's also the way it's colored, like the way it's color graded in the movie.
The way it's colored,
got
that's
a
what I'm
very
mainly
yellowy
talking
tinge.
about is the
like this looks
of it, even though
very
it's mad fucking blurry, but it probably
the colors definitely look closer to the Andrew Garfield version. Yeah, I like the look of it. I do love this suit better than the previous suits we got. So
all the previous suits are trash because it's made by Peter, not fucking Tony Stark's scraps that he made in a cave. Anyway.
Like, dude, because it's not like some compressive. Like, they made it so that you could actually see his ears poking out more. Like, there you could see his like much more so. Because
it actually looks like a real suit and not like CGI garbage. So
love the look of it. But hey, you know what? That's box office
Speaking of
report.
CGI garbage, might as well transition to MCU Weekly right now.
Let's do it.
Perfect segue.
John, this is gonna be fun. Did you look into this over the weekend?
I didn't look into leaks because I tend to not believe them very much. So it's like if it appears on my feed, I'll maybe I'll take a look. But nobody sent it to me. I didn't read anything about it. I was just like, I think somebody told me about it and like a couple things, but I didn't really read into it because I kind of just don't care, and I don't believe it. Like I never, like rarely have leaks ever actually been correct. Like the only one I could think of off the top of my head is the Flash, but even then they had to tweak some things with the ending. But yeah, it's for the most part I don't believe them, so they're not sought out, for me personally.
Yeah, so basically over the weekend we got a report out there about the Avengers Secret Wars plot. Like somebody on Reddit went in and leaked a bunch of that. The person on Reddit, by the way, hello Brian, saying for all the Peter Parkers that look so young, he did look older in that image. Yeah, true. But yeah, so this leak was on Reddit, and the person who leaked it, they are known for leaking stuff in the past. Like they've had other leaks in the past that they've put up on Reddit that turned out to be true. So again, take it for what it is. Take it with a big grain of salt. It may or may not be true. We may get into potential spoilers here for a moment, but by the way, the Reddit post has been taken down, so you can't really go back and read the full thing unless somebody has an image that and they can send that over to you. But Dborn1 is the account that did the leaks, John. If you want to scroll all the way to the top, we'll just keep it on the headline. But I wanted to touch upon a couple of things. Basically, the reason why it's dividing fan opinion is like in the Slash Film article or the Total Film article. If you go to the next one, they gave us a nice like overall summary of this. And if you guys have read this, then but if you haven't, basically the Russo brothers are going to try to connect the dots between why Steve Rogers breaks the rules that are established of time travel and then is able to give the shield out to Sam Wilson. Because I remember people were like, it doesn't make any sense if you travel to the past but then you came to the future. Like the movie's own time travel rules were self-inconsistent. So apparently they're going to try to address that in this movie. Also, they described how, in Battle World, it's going to look kind of similar to the concept art that leaked last year. It's going to look medieval and shit. We have heard that Benedict Cumberbatch as Doctor Strange is going to be part of Doom's, army and whatever. He's going to have a coven of bitches, which might have Scarlet Witch. All those things are in here. So there's that, but then there's also the idea that you will potentially get an evil version of Captain America, like I don't know if maybe Captain Hydra or some iteration of that. And in Battle World, basically what they're saying is that the ultimate explanation for what Tony's, well, not Tony, but the ultimate explanation with Doctor Doom being like, RDJ is going to be that he is indeed a Tony Stark variant. Not Tony Stark, but he's a Tony Stark variant. And so he basically hates Steve Rogers because Steve Rogers, going to the past and having a family somehow caused his family to die because of, like, it caused an incursion to happen, and Doctor Doom was trying to find ways to stop incursions and had an accident in his lab that killed his wife and his kid. So he blames Steve Rogers for the whole thing because Steve Rogers caused the incursion, blah blah blah. And then the other thing they were saying here, John, is that Loki, who apparently will die in Doomsday again, but will return somehow in Battle World. Well,
somehow.
Somehow. When he resets the multiverse, he's going to bring back Tony Stark as being alive with his family. So he's going to make a change, which feels very much like with the snap. You bring back everybody, but maybe you make a couple of changes. Like, you get rid of Thanos and all his army, which came from a different timeline anyway. But there's that. And then the other thing, the biggest thing that people seem to be worried about, that fans are, in an uproar about, is apparently Doomsday is, while it feels a little like Infinity War, Secret Wars is going to apparently feel a lot like Endgame, because the majority of the plot is going to feature the characters who, like the young champions, the young Avengers, and a few of the other people who remember what happened, because most of everybody else's memory is going to be wiped. So I don't know how those guys remember what happened. They're going to be jumping across the different multiverse timelines to try to reverse the effects of Doom's work, which very much feels like what they did in, Endgame. They were jumping through timelines.
It seems like there's something, and we'll talk about it soon enough, as to why the young champions, young Avengers, whatever the fuck they're going to be called, remembers, and we'll get into that soon enough.
Yeah. Hey, John.
But yeah, this is essentially,
like the Russo brothers are just running it back. Like the same story beats, different movie.
Yeah, but the thing is, these fuckwads don't care. It's like, okay, cool. We're getting the same movie again. I'll pay $30 for that. Like, it doesn't matter. It just shows.
You know what does matter though? Tony's here. Hello, Tony.
Movie. It just goes to show, as many like possible good movies that Marvel can make, it shows that, like, no matter what they do, they could just repackage the same microwaved fucking dog shit that they keep. Like, it's like microwaving the same meal over and over again, and but the same dumbass people are gonna fucking eat it up, and it's like, cool, awesome, great. It's like, enjoy your microwaved fucking mashed potatoes for the 17th time, you fucking suckers. Like, goddamn. But yeah, if
that is the story, then that feels not good to me. But I'm so glad that Tony is watching us live. Thank you, Tony. We do have your picks for Mount Rushmore Monday coming up. We got your picks, and I got your picks too, Monique. It came in at the very last minute, but I'll whip up a graphic for that. But John, let's keep going. We got more Marvel quick hits, as it were. Let's go through those.
Yeah, apparently it seems like this is why the Young Avengers remember, is apparently Ant-Man kicked one of the Sentinels. He will die in the movie, leading Cassie Lang and her group ending up in the quantum realm. That will be one of the Resistance teams. So I assume that's how they remember, because they're stuck in another dimension. So.
Oh, I see. Okay, that would explain it. I guess that explains it. So I still don't understand how that is not affected by resetting the universe, but I also don't understand the science or logic behind incursions.
Just accept it, because if you try to wrap your head around it, you're gonna fucking explode. Okay, just like the fucking Russo brothers bullshit time travel mechanics. So yeah. Anyway,
let's keep going.
Now we can remove some spoiler alert stuff and go back to our regularly scheduled.
Hey, we got more toys from the movie though. Hey, CC Black.
Yeah. So with this, as we all know, I mean, we talked about this a couple times. The Doctor Doom bust, as well as the minifigure, have been revealed. The first is titled Sentinel Battle, which includes a Sentinel replica, a downed Sentinel's head in Doom, along with Thor, Mystique, Mr. Fantastic, Nightcrawler, and Magneto. That's obviously a take on the battle we've seen in leaked footage from the movie, as it includes the X-Mansion sign. Here's where things get really interesting, though. The same leakers reporting that we're also getting the Dark Avengers Quinjet and that it
Yeah, if you
includes
see the
Hydra Captain
photos.
America. Now, something may have
Mhm.
been lost in translation with this actually being the new Avengers Quinjet with a U.S. agent figure, but the account in question leaks a lot of accurate intel and doesn't appear to have made a mistake. So, interesting.
So there's the
Interesting.
Captain Hydra reference, because maybe there's a Dark Avengers Quinjet, which would imply there's a Dark Avengers team. We know that Sentinel is going to be there. We have seen the design for the Lego figure of Doom. I thought the Captain Hydra thing. Remember, there were rumors about Captain Hydra for a long time, and then they seemed to kind of die off. Maybe they just weren't for Doomsday. Maybe it's more for Avengers Secret Wars. So yeah, it's interesting, and whether you like it or not, you guys let us know. I'm just a little concerned, like some other folks, that this just feels like a rehash of the same plot beats from the previous two Avengers movies. And the key is, you got to sell it as two new sets of stories and hope that people don't see through it. So, yeah, that's why I feel like Spider-Man Brand New Day has a better chance at 2 billion right now than Doomsday. Although Doomsday will do big money, I don't know if it's going to do 2 billion. Spider-Man is definitely, I feel like Spider-Man is going to get there, considering how much hype there is already, and it looks like actually a really good movie. So yeah, but hey, speaking of Spider-Man Brand New Day, John, remember the other was it like a few weeks ago that we talked about this? They were shooting something in Wembley. People thought they were shooting like something maybe like for the post-credit scene for Spider-Man, and not in Wembley Stadium, but in the area around the stadium in Wembley in the UK. Apparently, what they were filming was an ad for Double A, which is a roadside assistance, app and company in the UK. It's basically like AAA in the US is Double A in the UK. I used to have Double A when I lived in the UK, and when I came to the US, I was like, oh, AAA. Oh, they just added an extra A in America. It's the same thing. I mean, they're not the same company, but they do the same thing. So apparently they were filming that. So it wasn't actually for the movie, it was just an ad for the movie for the UK audience. So don't worry, that wasn't something they were going to add as like a post-credit scene teasing Avengers Doomsday. That little car stunt was for an ad. So yeah. Anyway, let's keep going.
Oh God,
Black
God
Dynamite
forbid
saying
if there's
RDJ
no
comes from a
fucking
pocket
post-credit
dimension.
scenes. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Anyway, but apparently we might
Oh
lose
my
another
God.
talented actress/actor to the MCU, because
Oh
apparently
no.
Indy Navarrete is interested in an MCU role, has met with Thunderbolts Jake Schreier. Like, guys, this is just sad to me. This is just sad. For like Joseph Quinn was another one, where it's just like, it's just like an early death, because it's just like, oh, you're just
Hey,
throwing
well,
away
she
your
wants to do
entire
it.
it's just like you're throwing away your entire career. It feels like to me you're throwing away your entire career for a paycheck, and then after the fact you're gonna have no fucking career, because
Well,
it's the Marvel curse. Like, almost no actor, there are a couple, but not a lot of them go on to have successful careers outside of the MCU. Rarely.
so
Very rarely.
I mean, this is from nylon.com, and if you scroll down in terms of what she was saying, there's more to it than just she says she's interested in a Marvel movie. She was asked about it,
Yeah.
and that's how she answered that question. Hi, Reeves fan. I think the Batman 2 cast is better looking to me than Heat 2. They're just, I mean, we know more about the movie right now too, so but I'm sure the Heat 2 will do great. But John, she was asked about, like, are you gonna do other movies after this? What about, what's next for you, basically? And she was saying, look, you can't really do a sequel to, Obsession, but she does wish that maybe if Cory Barker did like an anthology series of
She
movies,
wishes?
then you can kind of jump in. I think she said it'd be cool, in her words. Then she could. It'd be a different wish. But anyway, where each of the movies is a different wish. Yeah. So that being said, John, she was also asked about, like, what else, and that's when she was like, hey, yeah, I would love to do a Marvel movie. And she did say she's already talked to Jake Schreier before. That doesn't mean she's talked to him about the X-Men movie, but they have connected. She's also met with Michael Mann again, so hey, there's hope yet, John. Maybe she can do a Michael Mann movie before she jumps into the X-Men franchise. I think she could be a good Magic or X-23, but we already have an X-23. Like, I hope they stick with Daphne Keane, honestly, but who knows? Maybe if they go in that direction or not. But I mean, look, she said she would love to work with Greta Gerwig, Ryan Coogler as well. So she's got some of the big names on her mind. I just don't know. Look, one thing she did say later in the interview is that, between the movies she's done so far, she'd be like walking dogs, just watching streaming shows. She didn't really know like what her next big role, her next, acting opportunity was gonna be. Rogue would be also a good one potentially for her. But now after Obsession, she kind of goes into auditions with much more enthusiasm because obviously it was such a big hit that she feels like her chances of getting the next audition to work out is better. So I don't know, John, do you feel like there's a character people are suggesting Magic, Kitty Pryde, Rogue, X-23? Would you like to see her in any other roles? I think Kevin Feige probably wants Anya
And I'm not just saying that because I like her as
Magic,
an actress.
but
I just think I don't want anybody known. Like Indian Everett's a known name now. She's a known name. I don't want any. I don't want any known names.
Don't you want some known names to like have a little bit of like star power? With
That's what Professor X is for. Get a known name for him, and then have the actual X-Men characters, the mutants that fight, have them be nobodies. That's what works. I want nobodies. I want people like I have no idea who these people are. Boom. That's what worked for Thor. Like Chris Hemsworth was a fucking nobody, and like that RDJ was like in the shitter at that point. Chris Evans was in a slump. So it's like they were either nobodies or like next to nobodies. So like do that. Like essentially don't like, oh, let's have Jacob Elordi as Cyclops and fucking this person and this person. And just like just give me some nobodies. That's all I care about, bro.
Well, look, I'm sure we're gonna find out soon enough because I have a feeling either this Comic-Con or certainly by next Comic-Con, we're gonna know what the cast of that X-Men movie is gonna be. So you may not have to wait too long to figure out like where they're going with this. But anyway, let's keep going. Is that the last? I think that's the last Marvel piece of news we had. All right.
Now we go into your boring stuff. So I'm gonna head out and you enjoy.
So we have a couple of things here. I think actually John might be interested in one of these, so I'm sure he's going to come back when we talk about Xbox.
The horny will not get me here, Dan. I don't care how many women in bikinis you put on this goddamn art.
That's not the reason why I picked that article. But okay, so there was news today that after about like 9 months of having some negotiations that have been ongoing, and not anything that was publicly unknown, but Sky in the UK, the Sky that is actually owned by Comcast, is going to be part of the newly spun off, which yet to be spun off company when NBC Universal is going to go its separate ways from Comcast. Sky is going to be part of NBC Universal, Peacock, Universal Pictures, all of those companies. So Sky is technically owned by an American company right now, Comcast. And in the UK, if you guys are in the UK or have lived in the UK or are familiar with how things work over there, Sky is pretty big. Like Sky has the Premier League rights, they have Formula One rights, they do a lot of cricket. Their sports rights are huge. They have a Sky News. They have a lot of cable networks. I used to have Sky as my I think it's basically like you have satellite TV. I think it was. It's like you could either have BT or Sky. So anyways, I used to have Sky when I was there. But Sky just bought ITV. So ITV kind of split up into two pieces. They sold their media and entertainment business, which includes ITV's broadcast network in the UK, as well as their streaming service ITVX, as well as pretty much all of the other, I think they have multiple networks, and ITV News, which is like a nightly news program. All of that stuff Sky just bought. And they split off ITV Studios, which makes shows like Love Island, for example, and the British Bake Off as well. So those shows, the studio that makes that, the production company ITV Studios, is going to be its own thing. And this is a deal for $2.1 billion, which was called by one of the CEOs of the companies a defining moment for British media, because it does bring two of the biggest companies in the UK together into one. If you go to the next article, John, it is a little complicated because this isn't going to, just whisk through to approval. because they will go through, a regulatory process, which they did say could take 18 to 24 months. So, maybe a year and a half, maybe this might not be done until 2028. And, there's a two-phase process. Remember, Paramount is still waiting to find out if they're going to go into a phase 2 with their Warner Brothers merger. Because if you think about this, it's going to bring Sky News and ITV News under one umbrella, which they did say they'll keep separate, and ITV's broadcast network will keep operating the way it does now. But what it does do is brings yet another UK broadcaster under American ownership, because like I mentioned, NBC Universal owns Sky, which right now is all part of Comcast, but soon Comcast is going to go with separate ways, and then NBC Universal is going to be the one that owns Sky. And what they're going to do is they're going to actually take the ITVX streaming service, and all the back end is going to get merged with Peacock. So, like for example, Love Island USA is on Peacock. Love Island UK airs on I think Channel 3 in the UK, which is part of what ITV owns. Now, Paramount, for example, owns Channel 5, so that's why they're looking into Paramount's merger with Warner Brothers as well. So yeah, now, John, if you scroll through this article, there are a few things to talk about here in terms of what matters. Because this is historic. It's not guaranteed yet if it's going to actually get approved. But there are 5 big implications. And, some of the usual things whenever a merger or an acquisition happens. And if you keep scrolling, John, I think they have like the 5 things numbered out here. So number 1, this is going to take time. I just mentioned it. I think, it's going to take about 2 years more or less for this to get done, because the UK competition committees are very stringent, and so they will take their time. And if you scroll down here, John, we keep going. So yeah, I mean, Sky and ITV will probably not become one company for some time. Obviously, in any merger or acquisitions, job cuts will be coming. The CEO of Sky, Dana Strong, did say that a lot of this cuts will come from the marketing and technology side of things. But you can imagine there will be, they're going to be trying to achieve hundreds of millions of dollars in savings. And so some people will become redundant. So that will happen, as it usually does. Let's keep going, John. There are a couple other things I wanted to mention in terms of the implications for this, especially if you are in the UK. There is going to be the eventual inevitable executive rejig, which basically means each of the companies has one person doing a particular job, like leading a big department. Like, for example, you have Cecile here, who leads, I believe, Sky's, programming team. She's in charge of that. She decides what shows get made, what shows don't. And then her counterpart on ITV may not have a job anymore, or she may not have a job anymore, and her counterpart takes over. So stuff like that will happen. So not only people who lose their everyday jobs, like if you're just, going in 9 to 5, but a lot of the big leaders and executives will too. Keep going, John, here. By the way, ITV Studios, which is going off onto its own, could get bought by another production company like Banny J or something. So, because they have some of the biggest IP in, of any company in the world. Now, Premier League on ITV, if you're in the UK, you watch your Premier League on Sky and Amazon Prime and stuff. But they said for now they're not going to do that, but it is possible down the road, because that would mean that you would no longer be on paid cable. You could get ITV over the air, so that would be something new. Like BBC, I believe, has some Premier League games. Let's keep going, John. And then number 5, they mentioned ITV Studios goes it alone. And yes, the biggest thing that they do, outside of Love Island, is the Great British Bake Off. Now, as far as if you are a fan of the Great British Bake Off, things are not really going to change for you in terms of where you can find the show, because what happened was part of what Sky just bought, the part of ITV they bought, included the production company that produces the Great British Bake Off. But then in the same transaction, they, for like a $200 million, sold that production company back to ITV Studios, which will be the part of ITV that's being spun off onto its own. And then ITV Studios has signed a long-term, distribution deal with the new ITV that's going to sit under Sky. So basically, if you watch the Great British Bake Off in the UK, internationally, it's still going to be where you find it, whether it's on TV or streaming, at least until 2030, I believe. And then after that, things might change. But they did say that, that's just where the current contracts run until, and then they'll, they're not planning on changing that anytime soon. But then again, once the contract runs out, maybe ITV Studios gets bought by that time this happens, and then, things might change. So anyway, the long and short of it is, if you are somebody who watches ITV in the UK, soon it's going to be owned by Sky. It's going to take a couple of years potentially for this to all go through. And then, of course, shows like the Great British Bake Off Love Island will still largely be where they are. It's just there'll be different people in charge. So it's probably going to take a couple of years for all of this to really sort itself out. But it is a big deal because Sky is owned by an American company, NBC Universal, and now Sky will also own, ITV. Therefore, it sits under American ownership. So I'm sure the Brits are really happy about this. Or maybe they'll try to stop it. So we'll see. But anyway, John, do you want to come back for this story? Do you want to talk about Xbox? I feel like you would be interested in this part. Let's move on to that.
I mean, it's just the first time that Xbox has made a shitty decision under the new CEO, because they were making some really good decisions. Like, it seemed like a good new future, and it's like, oh, now we're back to the corporate bullshit that everybody knows and hates. So yeah.
Well, Jen, remember I mentioned this, I think, on a quick hit. I don't know if you were on that show. I mentioned this last week. This is something that was seen as it's been coming for some time, because
that is
Xbox
fair.
is part of Microsoft.
Xbox has been in a shitty place for a while.
Like, I think Xbox's sales have gone down like $500 million over the last few years, some huge figure like that. I saw also Microsoft across the board, because Xbox obviously is owned by Microsoft. They're making big job cuts across the board, and so Xbox is a part of that now. I mean, PlayStation definitely, I think PS5 completely outsold the newest generation Xbox by a wide margin. And it's like one of those things where Xbox has never recovered since. But that being said, look, the CEO, Asha Sharma, was saying, look, it's our business today is not healthy. This is one of those things where I feel like looking at this is terrible because so many people are losing their jobs. There are some silver linings, and we'll get into that in a minute. But I feel like this was a necessary move, because I think the new Asha is doing obviously what she needs to do to help lower prices, where they're going to be able to bring some of their players back who went off to PlayStation World because it's a better product right now. But remember, John, before the current CEO, a few years ago, when Microsoft went on this buying spree where they bought game studios left and right. Like, it was like Microsoft was like Oprah, except in reverse. Like, I'll have that studio, I'll have that studio, I'll have all the studios. That was Microsoft. Now it's kind of like, it almost reminds me of like the like when the car companies got bailed out in the financial crisis, and like GM had to like shut down multiple big brands because they've been consolidating for years, and it was like, nobody fucking drives like a G6. Like, sure, we can keep, Buick around, but like that to kill a bunch of other brands off, right? Now, here, what Microsoft is doing, they are slashing, like they say here, 3,200 jobs in the most significant restructure in the platform's history. I'm going to read into this article a little bit to get answer that question that Johnny was asking. Right now, they're doing about 1,600 layoffs this week, and then the next 1,600 are going to be spread out over the next year or so. And as part of this, they're also doing restructuring, which they said at least partly driven by the current state of the business, as well as, how certain things are automated by AI now and stuff, which, they tried to minimize that part of it. They're not saying we're letting go of people because AI is going to replace them. But, I mean, Microsoft is, just shed 4,800 jobs, and clearly 3,200 is the majority of those numbers are coming from Xbox. Now, if you guys are worried about the studios, here's the thing. Last week I talked about how there's a number of studios that Microsoft is either going to shut down or try to spin off or find new buyers for. So Compulsion Games and Double Fine Productions will be spun out onto their own. So their current management will stay in charge. So Double Fine Productions and Compulsion Games will become their own independent studios, while Ninja Theory and Undead Labs have secured funding and will operate under a new ownership. John, if you go to the next article, that's where we have like the logos and pictures. If you guys don't know what those studios are, those are the studios that we're talking about. Now, Arcane, I'll get to in a minute, because Arcane is the studio that's behind the upcoming Blade game. That one is still kind of hanging in the balance. We don't quite know what's going on there. But the other four studios, two of them are being spun off into their own management. They're going to be independent studios again, Compulsion and Double Fine. And then Ninja Theory and Undead Labs, they have secured enough funding that they will operate under new ownership. So they'll get sold off. And they're also going to be like eliminating a lot of layers of leadership here. So like basically they're saying, we're going to become a flatter organizational structure.
Hang on, managers. Don't be praising Nintendo and PlayStation. They have also been making some dog shit ass fucking decisions the last like fucking 10-15 years, so don't be praising nobody just yet.
Now
The
Just
only
to add a number to this,
the only one that's like doing actually kind of sort of well is
yeah.
Valve, and even with the Steam machine being wildly
So
overpriced, but that's beside the point.
now in this article, because Engadget reported on this, Bloomberg and The Verge reported on this. The Verge is what I was talking about last week. About 435 jobs are being saved by 4 of those 5 studios continuing to operate under new ownership or becoming independent again. Now, as far as what's going on with Arcane, that's still sort of up in the air. They haven't really told us what's going to happen with Arcane, the game and the studio behind Blade. If that gets shut down, then Blade game will be canceled. We know that game has been running over budget and it's been delayed.
Yeah,
so
no matter what, Blade can't win.
It's been in trouble, but like so just to, as of right now, we don't know when we're doing the show if Blade is going to survive, if Arcane is going to survive. But that we don't know yet what's going to happen. I think there were reports that they might try to sell off Arcane, kind of like a couple of the other studios we talked about, like Undead and Ninja, or they might try to spin it off onto itself, but still, like, it's going to be interesting. The other, side of this is there is an employee union at some of these studios, and that unionized Xbox staff has, held a press conference, and they were saying, look, we're not going to be treated as disposable, like, and they have some certain demands that Microsoft has not addressed yet, but I have a feeling that's a fight that's going to happen, where they're saying, you got to give us more advanced warning on these layoffs. You can't give us day of, like, you can't send an email to somebody in the morning and be like, you're done today. That's just something you can't do. They're also asking for a hiring freeze so that any affected workers can transfer to other open roles internally before they're offered to outside people. And then also asking for some protections, like a 2-year recall right for any laid off employees, meaning that within 2 years, if their roles open up again, you got to go and bring the same employee you let go a couple of years ago back for the same job, which I feel like is something that a union should do, and it's their right to do that. So yeah, John, it's not looking good, but this, I feel like this is a bit of a reset. It's kind of like similar to Amazon. Like, they went on that hiring spree for years, and then like they shed like hundreds of thousands of jobs over this past year. So now it's like Microsoft's doing something similar, and obviously Xbox is a big part of it, because I never thought it would be like really, I don't know, like it was very expansionist, but it sounded like off to me that Microsoft was going like left and right buying all these studios, and you've seen like how AAA games have sort of like, yeah, they've gone down the shitter a lot. So yeah, like it didn't make sense. I was like, how sustainable is this? It didn't feel sustainable, and now we know it wasn't. And obviously, the hardware doesn't help. Like, this most recent generation of Xboxes have really lagged behind the PlayStation, and there just doesn't seem to be any way for them to truly catch up. I mean, at this point, everything I feel like that Asha Sharma has done as a CEO is damage control, and
100%.
This is,
I mean,
like,
after
to like bring
was
keep
it
whoever's
Phil
still
Spencer, who had been with the company for like 10-50 years, just drove it into the fucking ground, and this is all just trying to salvage something from this company. Now, is it great? No, of course not. Nobody wants to see people get laid off and all that shit, but it's just like Microsoft is just the cracks are there. Like, it's not just with Xbox, with Microsoft. I mean, more and more people are fucking abandoning Windows at this point. They're going to Linux. They're going to, hell, even Mac devices. So it's just like it's just Windows is, because they're like trying to implement more and more AI into their shit. They're like they're not pro consumer at all. I mean, barely any billionaire company is pro consumer at this point. So it's just like no matter what they do, it feels like, I don't want to say the writing's on the wall, because I feel like Microsoft is going to survive. It's just they just need to
they
get
survived the
fucking
dot-com bubble
slapped.
burst.
Yeah, they just need to get fucking slapped in the face and be like, get a fucking clue at this point. Because if you keep going with this, with a lot of these decisions that you're making, you're not going to have a base left. Like, Windows is like sustaining them, but like, how far is that going to go when people are just like abandoned? Now, who knows? I mean, everyone said, oh yeah, Disney's in the shitter. That was never going to fucking happen. Like, Disney has enough to stay afloat, but Microsoft, I don't know. It's just like, there's been like the whole idea that Microsoft has been trying to kill the Xbox off for years, and this might be like, I think it will be, if I think that, I personally, this is my theory, John's theory time. Sharma was put as CEO. They're like, okay, salvage this fucking company in T minus, I don't know, 2 years, 1 year, 2 year, 3 years, maybe.
I think 3
If
years
you
is
can't,
probably like the reason
we're shutting this shit down. And that's what
Yeah.
I think it's gonna be. Like I don't think they're even gonna be making games. They're probably like what Sega did. I think Tony mentioned that in the chat. Where I don't think they'll even make. I think they would just sell off all their shit and then just focus on the stuff that's still making the money. I think Sharma has a very big job ahead of her. If it's gonna go somewhat well, maybe we'll see. But like, it's just it seems like they're like, okay, we'll give you a couple years, see what happens, and if you can't do anything with that, then sayonara.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I just
it's
think like Microsoft's like enterprise business is such a big part of
yeah,
their, like Xbox is small potatoes now compared to what Microsoft Cloud does. Like at the
yeah.
enterprise level,
I mean, Steam
like
Machine
it's
was a huge
just
shot in the foot. Like that's like
yeah,
100%. But the thing is,
yeah.
a lot of people, but that's not going to be a thing that kills Valve. Like you can't, like at this point, Steam is just too much of a moneymaker for them. It's just, and you have all the people making better Steam machines with better products that are cheaper. But, I mean, to be fair, AI also fucking kind of killed that idea as well, because it was supposed to be like $750 for the Steam machine, but then AI drove up all the prices.
I mean,
but even then, it's
prices. I mean, like now you can buy a MacBook for $10,000. Like it's all
yeah,
because
it's
like
just
the hardware
Steam,
yeah,
I'm not gonna lie, like Steam Machine was a huge shot in the foot. It's just like the thing that was like bothering me about people being like, oh yeah, it's gonna fucking Valve is gonna fucking die because of the Steam. I'm like, no, that Valve is perfectly fine. It's just Steam Machine. Yeah, of course it's a shot in the foot, but I think Valve will be fine, and I think they've had too many W's across their history to make them seem like just as bad as all these other companies. That's just, I think. Again, I hate to be a fucking dick rider for a billionaire corporation. Trust me, I don't want to be like that at all. But it's just like they're the least terrible out of all of them. Even I would go so far there to say they're pretty good. But it's just like I just think I just think that Microsoft is just like, here, see if you can salvage it. If you can, cool. If you can't, then bye. Because I mean, that's what sometimes that's what a lot of sometimes it works. Like I remember, I think this was back in like 2012, where like they got rid of the CEO of like Best Buy or something, and then
no, it wasn't in 20. It was oh yeah, it was 2012 because I actually got hired at Best Buy at the time. It was like weeks into.
Were you part of the Geek Squad, Dan?
I wasn't in the Geek Squad, never in the Geek Squad. I knew a lot of Geek Squad folks, but basically it was like this new guy came in. Actually, I have him.
And then he went to like every Best Buy in the fucking country and just listening to people. And he's like, and this guy was not part of Best Buy. He was an external force, and he fucking literally rebuilt that entire company from the ground up.
And by the way, what I've heard
Best Buy's
is
not
like
doing great because
because
big
he
box
retired.
Chain stores are not great, so
No, but like no, but like also I think he left, and then the CEO changed, and then apparently Best Buy went right back down the shitter again. I left in 2017, so it's been years, but I remember like there was a huge turnaround in the like just the fortunes. Best Buy would have gone the way of Circuit City a long time ago if it wasn't for I think Hubert or something, like if he had like a French sounding name.
I forget his name. But yeah, that's essentially what it is. It's just like I feel like they're trying to do that with this. And we'll see if this benefits it. We'll see. Not like, again, I'm not trying to like ride them. Yes. Did we talk about that on Friday? I think we talked about that briefly, right?
Yes, we did. It was like a quick hit.
Yeah. So we talked about
Sony,
that briefly.
Well, Sony getting rid of physical discs. Yeah. Hello, MPG.
Yeah.
Sorry,
in
US
terms
is
of
out.
like, if I had to pick between the three, I would just say I'm never playing games again. Like, in all honesty, if I had to pick between the three fucking companies, I'd just be like, I'm okay. I can survive on.
Look, I think what's more likely to happen is like, think about it this way. Right now, like I mentioned, Microsoft, the biggest source of revenue that their company has, their biggest vertical is Nothing to do with Xbox. Like Xbox used to be a big growing segment of their overall business, but Microsoft invested heavily in the Azure cloud services. Like it's basically their version of Amazon, web services. And Microsoft Cloud at the enterprise level for like over a decade now has slowly, and actually at several points very quickly. Initially it grew really quickly, and now it's just with AI and everything they're doing with that, it's becoming a much more important segment of their business. Like it's way more like it's I don't know if you guys can hear me. It's way more consequential for Microsoft to have the AI business and their enterprise cloud business than Xbox. I think what's going to happen down the road if Xbox doesn't recover is they're just going to like spin it off as its own company. Like Comcast is splitting off now their technology and broadband business from NBC Universal because it's so far removed from everything else Microsoft does in a lot of ways that I just think at one point they're like, it's not worth the headache. We're just going to let it go off onto itself. I think that's more likely to happen. But speaking of spin-offs, John, we were talking about earlier this year that Versant was getting spun off by NBC Universal Comcast with all the cable networks. Now, when that company, went on the stock market at the start of this year, they were saying their CEO has been very clear about this, that we're going to try to evolve our company away from simply just being a bunch of cable networks, because obviously that's still a dying industry. And they've already made some acquisitions in that time since. They bought a few other companies. And now the latest acquisition they've got is a sports tech company called Full Swing, which does, all these advanced golf simulators and basically a lot of technology around golf training, golf analysis and stuff, which they're gonna add into their golf channel vertical, which is of course one of their flagship networks at this point, post split from Comcast. So this $530 million acquisition is similar to, like, remember we talked about it not too long ago that they had bought a couple of other companies. I think they had bought a Stock Story, which they added to CNBC because it's a website about stocks and stuff. They brought Free TV Networks, which kind of lines up with their other channels in terms of like streaming. So what they're trying to do here, Versant, is they're trying to get away from just relying on revenue from their cable networks. They're trying to say, okay, we have Golf Channel, we have Golf Now, we have golf.com, all those things, but now we have this technology company and stuff that's going to like try to, so they're trying to like get in, just make themselves more of a technology company, pure media sports company, but also get away from just being about cable. Which I think makes sense because, again, this is the opposite of what like Microsoft is doing. They're downsizing, but I think Versant is trying to further make themselves more on a solid footing for the future. Because if they still just are about cable networks, then in a few years' time, when cable networks are no longer a thing, Versant will no longer be a thing. So just wanted to quickly mention that. And with that, I think we can move on from the business of Hollywood. I think that we're going to leave the business talk there, John. Let's get into some movie talk madness. So business deals for sports. Hey, it's it's all business. It's a movie business, sports business.
I'm Mr. Business.
Speaking of the business of winning, John, I feel like they did a Muhammad Ali biopic. Wasn't like Will Smith in one called Ali, like back in the day?
Yeah, Michael Mann did it back in the 2000s, I think.
So apparently, I heard about this a while ago. I think we talked about it. Michael B. Jordan is producing an Amazon Prime video version of a Muhammad Ali biopic. It's called The Greatest, and they just put a trailer out. The trailer looks impressive. It's not, it's got that dude, Phoebe's brother, I keep forgetting his name, and he was in the Avatar movies, but it looks okay to me. I don't know, John, did you watch this trailer? I thought this was a decent trailer.
Looked generic biopic to me, so
yeah. It's nothing that it doesn't stand out too much. I was like, and then Fiona was like, didn't they already make a Muhammad Ali biopic? And I was like, oh yeah, that Will Smith version that's like on Pluto or something nowadays. But hey, The Greatest is going to be coming out on Amazon Prime this year, and it looks okay. It looks okay. If you guys saw the trailer, great. If you didn't, then hey.
And that's not the best like response. Like, it's fine. Yeah. Also, is that Giovanni Ribisi? What the fuck are you doing there, man?
Yes, that's Phoebe's brother. That's what I'm talking about. Phoebe's brother. I was like, he's Giovanni something. You never watched Friends? Hey, Jalen.
No, I never watched Friends. Okay. I fucking was born in 1997. What the fuck are you talking about?
Wow. Okay. I mean, it's on Nick at Night all. Is it still on Nick at Night all the time? I don't know if it's on.
Bro,
Maybe they moved
I
it
don't
to like
fucking.
Big Bang
I am a
Theory or something.
29-year-old man. I don't fucking watch Nickelodeon.
That's fine. I just put on SpongeBob sometimes because I'm like, SpongeBob is forever good in my book. So
You know who else is forever
like,
good?
the old episodes.
Ryan Gosling, because Ryan Gosling is literally me and Knuff.
Yeah.
And apparently, according to
Yeah.
this, is Ryan Gosling playing a Legends Skywalker in Star Wars Starfighter, and new rumors will be explained here.
Ooh.
So from my notes, this is from makingstarwars.net, so pinch of salt time. From my notes, Ryan Gosling plays Cade, a rogue Han Solo style protagonist. Cade escorts a child to the Jedi Refuge or Academy on Adaria, which is like, guys, why are we so obsessed with stories of like adults taking children places? Like, we already got it with Mandalorian. Like, we're doing it with this too. It's like, oh, Mandalorian, we know how to do that. Like Last of Us, Logan, like, why are we, fucking True Grit, both versions? Why are we just so obsessed with like being protective of adults, of children, and taking them places? It's fucking weird.
Every hero is like,
seems
got
to
to
have a
protect
necklace
child.
that is important in some way. Cade comes across more like a Han Solo pirate rogue character. Early on, I heard he was the best friend of the Father of Grace character, and he had to take the boy to a Jedi planet. And Amy Adams was the boy's mom. Some of that seems to have stuck into the final script.
Okay. They also told us, by the way, if you guys know who Kate Skywalker is from the expanded universe, then I don't know how that lines up with the Disney canon, because
no,
as far as
the
Luke
expanded
never
universe,
had
none of
kids.
that is canon. The only thing that
So
becomes
I don't know
canon
how
is
that's
they
gonna
take from
work.
that and then put it in the Disney canon. So,
but John, if you go to the next article, they do talk about, we know that Ryan Gosling's wife, Eva Mendes, is also in the movie. And if you scroll down here, another tweet from the same Twitter account did mention who she's going to be playing. Just go down a little bit further. That's all the same stuff you just read.
So, when it comes to how,
by the way, wait, hold on, we didn't touch this. Aaron Pierre is in the movie. Apparently,
Yeah.
Aaron Pierre is connected to the Jedi Sanctuary on Adaria. So Aaron Pierre, Green Lantern, Jon Stewart, is going to be in the
seeing
film.
as his character battles Mia Goth's unnamed villain in a lightsaber duel. Maybe that's the same lightsaber duel that Tom Cruise ripped the camera
Tom
at
Cruise,
fucking
yes,
Sean Levy's
yeah.
fan, and he was like,
Flew out a
and we're like,
helicopter
why are we
and
letting
just
Tom Cruise film? It's Tom Cruise. Shut the fuck up. He can do whatever he wants. Shut up, or the Scientologists will come after us and kill us all. Just fucking let him film this. And that was like the one day Ryan Gosling wasn't on set, because Sean Levy texts him a picture and he's like, what the fuck, man? Really?
I want to say it wasn't on purpose, but like, he just texted me a photo and I'm like, what? The one day I'm not on set, you got Tom Cruise flying in on a helicopter and filming a scene.
That's probably going to be the best film scene in the movie, because God knows that the rest of it's,
Tom fucking Cruise,
filmed by
man.
fucking Sean
He's
Levy.
obsessed with filmmaking.
Ew.
Okay, so when it comes to the Jedi that are portrayed, they're mostly Padawans in being Jedi-style tunics, similar to Obi-Wan Kenobi and young Anakin at the end of The Phantom Menace. But, John, Eva Mendes is playing a fully glammed-out cantina owner named Belle. She's 650 years old with gold skin-tight pants and a corset with a golden cape. Hallelujah. I am...
they don't mention a shirt, so I'm like, that's interesting. Anyway, so still there's a lot to digest here, and this certainly sounds like a movie that will pique the interest of Star Wars fans, maybe not, who have grown tired of Lucasfilm's recent offerings. So we'll see. It's got Matt Smith.
If this turns out to be true, they got a lot of big actors
cast.
in this.
It's got a good cast.
Yeah, Matt Smith, Flynn Gray, who's the kid, I think. And then you got, of course, Aaron Pierre in this, Daniel Ings.
Goth,
I like
Aaron
Amy
Pierre,
Adams.
you got Amy Adams. A lot of good people in this.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, Sean Levy's fine. Like, he's a good hire job. Like, he can do stuff.
I mean, by the way, a corset would be a
studio
shirt,
yes
John.
man.
That's
He doesn't have much of his own vision, but he'll do what the higher ups want him to do. That's fine.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I don't think he's a bad director, because I personally will always be biased for Sean Levy because he made the Night of the Museum movies. So even though I don't enjoy most of his other films, but I thought those were great. So anyway,
I thought you liked the Adam
hey,
Project.
we got some. It was okay, but like it's not Night of the Museum good. I feel like that movie sometimes people overrate it, and I don't use that word very often. I feel like it's a little overrated for some people that I've heard talk about it.
I don't
But
know,
you know
I
what's
never
probably
watched
not
it,
going to be
so-
overrated? John, you know
The
what's
Odyssey.
not going to be overrated?
The Odyssey.
The Odyssey. And this article, by the way, is really cool. I'm going to TLDR it for you guys. If you want to read the
unless
whole
you're
thing,
Caleb,
go
who
to.
hates everything Nolan, so
That's true. Caleb can go suck his own ass. But like, if you read this article at IndieWire.com,
Damn.
if you did
Caleb,
not,
did you get surgery so you get rid of some ribs so you're able to do that? just asking.
maybe he's very flexible. But like, if you want to read this whole article, go to IndieWire.com. Basically, what it's talking about is how this week, John, the Odyssey is going to get screened. It was actually last week. The Odyssey got screened for just the critics. None of the, influencers and fans. It was just the critics. And what this article is basically talking about is how that, I feel like, it matters in today's world where... Remember like the whole Pedro Pascal controversy with Manu Grogu when they brought all these influencers in for like a stunt and people were like, oh, they weren't even real people that he surprised. It was just influencers who got flown in for that specific thing. And obviously we have seen like Marvel did this, just I think almost abused this strategy where every superhero movie, they're like, you hyped it, like Supergirl did this. All the super fans, all the influencer accounts get to see an early screening and the junket screenings, and then they put out these social media reactions, they hype up the movie, and then when the movie comes out, like they will drop the review embargo the day before. The movie may be good, maybe really good, but like there's a lot of times, like Supergirl for example, like clearly the early reactions were probably not indicative of how the movie was going to turn out ultimately. So I think the Odyssey, I feel like the Odyssey is above all of that, because it's already so hyped and it's it's high bar cinema. It doesn't need to stoop to the level of influencer marketing. But B, what they're doing here is they're not giving critics just a day, because sometimes what has happened is the critic screening, for example, for Supergirl, they did a screening for the critics on Monday and the movie was released as early as Wednesday in different parts of the world. And that's a lot asking of a critic, even though they're doing it professionally. You watch the movie, then you literally have to work on a review overnight. And when you're writing for like IndieWire.com, Deadline.com, you're not just like writing for your like, JoeSchmoes.com small website. There's an editorial process, there's approvals, there may be revisions. And if you're asking to, go to a movie screening, turn around a review, have it out the door and published by the following morning, that's kind of insane and asking a lot of critics. And then you tie that into how these false hype reviews from influencers, which aren't even full reviews until a certain date closer to the release of the movie, they create a lot of distrust with people. It's like it's hard to trust somebody reacting to a movie because of this on early screening because they're an influencer, because they got paid for it and they got some special privileges as part of the marketing campaign. Because I think it creates a lot of distrust in people that's why people say, oh, reviews don't matter, don't trust what anybody else is saying. I'm like, yes, you want to go see the movie for yourself, but like a lot of times there's so many movies out there, if you don't know what to think about a movie, you're going to go look at reviews. But if you can't trust the reviews, then what can you trust? So I feel like what they're doing here with the Odyssey, it's good that they're skipping the influencer stuff, but you better hope the Odyssey is great. And I think the Odyssey is going to be pretty gosh darn good. John, do you agree with what they're doing here with Universal? Do you think this is going to become a trend? Like going back to the days when they didn't do influencer screenings?
Yeah, because influencers, they all collectively have like one brain cell. Like, come on now. Like, I don't think they would even, I think they would sit through the first 5 minutes and then immediately pull out their phone and be like, hey, look, I'm here. Look at me. I'm at the Odyssey. I don't even know what's happening right now, but like, here we are. Like, that's all.
Like, okay, for me, the biggest problem with this strategy has been that, superhero movies, Marvel movies, DC movies, they tend to be very front loaded, meaning that most people go to see it opening weekend. But then if a movie's not that good, it's maybe just mediocre. More reviews come out, the word of mouth doesn't travel as far. And then that's why you see the movies kind of drop. I feel like in order to have more movies that have legs at the box office and like be able to make money for weeks and months on end, this is one part of that picture that you don't just do all that hype simply to just have everybody blow their load on opening weekend, because it doesn't make for a sustainable model long term. And we have seen the effects of that. And I think much like studios going back to longer release windows, I think this is another step in the right direction, because look, those professional critics are getting paid full time to do this work. They have credentials. They're able to write higher
Caleb, you're gonna get fucking muted
reviews.
like in 2 seconds. So I would just suggest you stop talking, bro.
But you know what, Caleb? Like, I'm not even listening to what he's saying. But anyway, or what he's writing. I just wanted to point this out. I think this is good. What the Odyssey is doing with, their approach. I mean, Universal, I think, did the opposite of this with a few of their other movies recently. But I think Disclosure Day had a similar situation. So I like where they're going with this. They're still the only studio. This might still be the only movie they do it for. But yeah, I like where they're going with this. And the Odyssey, look, the Odyssey doesn't need influencers talking about it. Christopher Nolan probably doesn't want that to be the case anyway. I think the Odyssey is going to make all the money in the world regardless. So, but you know what else, John, is going to make all the money in the world? I don't know. I couldn't think of a better transition. Mount Rushmore Monday. It is still a Monday on the East Coast, the Central Time Zone, Mountain, and West Coast in the U.S. So coming off America's 250th birthday, we're doing Mount Rushmore Monday. First of all, you guys voted for, if you were stuck on an island, what 4 movies would you pick? I don't know how you guys did not pick, best speeches, because I watched Independence Day for its 30th anniversary over the weekend, because literally the Independence Day movie came out in 96, 30 years ago, on July 4th.
I will say, I'm
just like, come on.
I love this headline. It's just so funny to me. It's like reminding people, did you know Independence Day is an Independence Day movie? Wow. I couldn't have figured that out from the fucking title. Next, you're going to tell me Christmas in Connecticut is a Christmas movie. That's crazy, bro. It's almost like it's the title of the movie. Wow. And they have a ticking clock that shows the date every fucking day until July
3rd.
God, you can't
July
spell
4th.
Ignorance without fucking IGN. I swear to fucking God, these people. Did you know? Yeah, I knew, because I don't have the brain cell of a brain-dead, comatose monkey. Fucking stupid fucks.
I mean, dude, there's like, I still always loved that movie. I grew up with that movie. I grew up with that movie watching it.
Fun. Absolutely.
Like at a time, look, English is not my first language, and there was a time in my life where I used to watch Independence Day and not understand what they were saying. It's one of those very few movies that has traveled with me.
Was that like that and Batman or Robin? You probably didn't understand the ice puns at some point.
Yeah, so a lot of those 90s.
You didn't know the cinematic dialogue of "Nice to see you, Batman."
Yeah. Anyway, we will not go quietly into the night. We will survive.
Yeah,
even at a time like today.
Like I might not be a big lover of Independence Day. I like the movie. Like it's perfectly fun. I don't rewatch it every Independence Day or anything. But
Ice Age, Caleb,
like it's still a ton of fun. Like Bill Pullman's great. Will Smith is great.
Oh,
what's that smell? Which, by the way, was ad-libbed because they were filming next to like a shrimp plant, and like it fucking reeked. Fucking Will Smith.
I could have been at a barbecue. He's like
they were filming multiple takes, and he's like, "What the is that smell?"
Yes. Keep it in the movie. It's so great. Dude, it's like, Jeff Goldblum must go faster. Same as Jurassic Park, with his chest hair out the whole movie.
I mean,
it's just,
Jeff
Independence
Goldblum
Day is a
plays the
great
same role
film.
in every movie, but I don't give a fuck because Jeff Goldblum is a goat,
He is a goat. Come on, man.
That's
Independence Day is a great film.
That
sucks. Your father has poor taste in movies. Sorry, Caleb.
Hey, like father, like son.
Hey, now we know. Now we know the origin story, so we know better.
Speaking
of
origin stories, let's get this party started.
So, John, the theme that you guys voted for, the poll winning topic was, if you were stuck on an island, and I like to add a little extension to that, if you were stuck on an island and you had a DVD player, what 4 movies would you take
that would help
with you?
And electricity somehow.
No, but like I'm talking about like a portable DVD player, like those laptop looking ones which have a little bit of screen. Yeah. Remember those, John? Remember those? How
I
long
do
has it been?
remember
Am I
those.
aging myself? Am I dating
Honestly,
myself?
those are probably like really good to have now because like
It
everything's
is.
fucking connected to the internet. Honestly, I might buy myself a portable DVD player like that. I think that
Yeah.
would be really good to have.
That shit is hype. Like nowadays, it just hits different because that's the only thing you're watching is the movie that is in that disc, that is in that player at that moment in time.
You don't need
That's
to
it.
fucking connect to the internet. They don't need
You're
to
not gonna
track
get ads.
you. They don't. You know, no
It's
ads,
this-
none of this, no streaming.
Exactly.
You're paying
Nobody's
fucking $700 a month for it.
spying
Honestly,
on you.
we peaked
Yeah,
with
exactly.
portable
All of
DVD
that.
players. You know what? I'm gonna fucking go to
Yeah.
Amazon, see how much they are because like,
Dude, we'll talk about later how Christopher Nolan uses Casio TVs on his movie
Yeah.
sets still. Like, sometimes the analog stuff is better, you know? They were awesome on planes, especially if you had a plane where you didn't have, like, the seat back TV stuff. Anyway,
Oof,
back
that
in the
is
good
way
old
too
days.
expensive. Yeah, I'm not. I'll wait for
Yeah.
a sale. That's like $200 for one. Fuck that.
I remember when they used to be, like, $60 at Best Buy when they were, like, on their way out.
Well,
And
I'm
you could,
looking
like,
at
go get
Blu-ray
it.
players because I have a lot
Okay.
of Blu-rays. So
Yeah.
you know.
Oh yeah, that's gotta be a little more. But anyway, okay. So a lot of you guys did send in your picks for Stuck on an Island. You got 4 movies you're gonna take with you. John, let's go through them. We got like a shit ton. Monique sent her picks a bit late, so we do have those separately, but we do have everybody else's picks. So let's go through these. Let's see what people picked for their Mount Rushmore. We'll start with Marco's Mount Rushmore. John, have you seen all these movies? So I'll just list them out first. Marco picked Castaway, Swiss Army Man, Send Help, and The Blue Lagoon, which of course also all happen to be movies about desert islands. So I guess Marco
because I
was
think a couple people got
really
a
into the-
little confused.
confused. Yeah.
In terms of Stuck on an Island and Desert Island movies. I don't think these are his Desert Island movies. These are movies he loves on a desert island. But still
Well,
good
no, he
picks.
was yes.
Yeah, not the only one that misinterpreted that, but like still good picks.
No, but he was he was doing it in jest. His comment on the post was like actual movies about desert islands, ha ha ha, because like he had like laugh emojis next to it. So good picks
Hey,
though.
I will
The
say
Blue Lagoon's
Swiss
gonna
Army
show up
Man-
one more time.
Okay, here's the thing. Swiss Army Man is actually a really good movie. Like it's surprisingly really good.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Nelson's picks are good too.
Fifth Element and the entire Lord of the Rings trilogy. Yeah, honestly, you could probably like get to the desert island, watch the entire Lord of the Rings extended edition, and then like people will be able to find you like immediately after the fact since it's fucking 16 hours long.
Oh, and you know what? So here's the thing. I'm looking at Nelson's oh yeah, Figure you didn't send us your stuff. Come on. I mean, I made it pretty clear if you're stuck on an island, you have 4 movies. It wasn't about island movies. That was be very specific. Anyway. So Nelson said that he's not just picking the Fifth Element and the Fellowship, and the Lord of the Rings trilogy. He's picking the extended version of the Lord of the Rings trilogy. So he's given himself the maximum amount of time to get rescued. He's going to just spend his time watching. I have a feeling like he's going to run out of battery on that DVD player before he gets through one of those films. Because Fifth Element is also like 2.5 hours long. So this is definitely the longest runtime combined of any of the movies on this list.
Should have put like Seven Samurai in there because then that would have been like capped at like 20 hours or something.
I don't know why people were confused. I said, look, in the poll, Stuck on an Island, pick 4 movies. Like, you know what? Okay, I could have actually probably expanded on that. Come to think of it, never mind. I just forgot how short that was. Sometimes you gotta keep it short because
Well, the thing is, you only have a 36 character limit, so you can't exactly.
Snyder's Justice League is not as long.
Yeah, Zack Snyder's Justice League. By the end of it, you'll end up fucking blowing your brains out because it's so bad.
Problem
and then you don't have
solved.
to be
You're not stuck on
desert
an island anymore. You get to escape to the great beyond. We'll do island
we'll be
movies
technical
later.
on that one, but sure, yeah. Anyway,
yeah. Okay, all right, let's move on. I got my
Island
picks.
of Doctor. Well, I would say Island of Lost Souls is better, but yeah.
Yes, I did have Tom Hanks as my thumbnail. I did have Tom because it makes sense. It's like, if you want to escape from an island, Castaway gives you a few ideas, like to get the attention of the outside world. I feel like maybe that some of you guys picked Castaway. So anyway, We talked about it last Friday. Like that was going to be in the poll. You guys suggested that as an option to begin with. Anyway, Independence Day is on my list. Then you got F1. You got The Dark Knight, of course, some of my favorite movies, also some of the most rewatchable movies that I believe are out there. Then I had to put in at least one Bollywood movie, so I put in Munna Bhai MBBS, which is a Bollywood movie from, I think, 2003, 2004. It's about, like, basically a gangster in Mumbai who ends up, going to a medical school and like tries to fake his way through becoming a doctor. It's basically, you need to know a lot about like Indian culture to understand some of the genius of this film. It's one of the best movies that I think from that era of Bollywood, and even today. That's more of a personal pick because I grew up loving this movie. I've seen it a million times. It always puts a smile on my face. So I will always want to have at least that one, if not more, from Bollywood. But I think all these movies for me, Independence Day, F1, The Dark Knight, and Munna Bhai MBBS, are very, very rewatchable. They're personal favorites. If I'm stuck on an island, I want to, this will at least keep me entertained and remind me of who I am, ground me, center me, and then, give me the hope and the fighting spirit that I need to get off that island. Because, movies are magical, and I truly do believe in the power of cinema, except, if it's on a DVD player, because I don't think I'll have access to a big ass theater on an island unless it's one of those like Jeffrey Epstein islands. Maybe then
okay,
as long as I'm the only one on there, like that's the idea here. If you're stuck on an island by yourself. Anyway, let's move on. Caleb's got picks. Caleb suggested his Mount Rushmore, Boogie Nights.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Caleb. You can't dunk on Dark Knight when you have Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas on your list. I remember I watched
that one. Okay,
while completely sober, and I'm like, I hate every minute of this. This is garbage. I fucking hated Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. Anyway,
but Caleb also put Raising Arizona.
I love Secret Life of Walter Mitty. I haven't seen the other two. But yeah.
So by the way, apparently Raising Arizona in other parts of the world was known as Baby Arizona. So there's that. I think that the Secret Life of Walter Mitty is a great movie to have. If you're trying to be like, if you're
honestly, I need to rewatch that because that is
like, if you're lonely, like actually, it's a great movie.
So wait. So Dan, you've seen Raising Arizona, right?
No, I have not.
Okay. So Caleb, I need to ask you a question since it's on your list. So because my dad, this was, and I swear this is gonna have a point. So after we saw Supergirl, my dad, who doesn't really know like these comic book characters, and so he tries to like compare things to what he's seen before, and he's like, so he's like that guy on the motorcycle, reasonable. And I'm like, Lobo. He's like, yeah, the guy who played Aquaman, and I'm like, yeah, what about? He's like, he reminded me of this character from fucking Raising Arizona, this fucking bad guy on this motorcycle. It almost like he acted almost exactly like he was more of a villain in Raising Arizona, but he's like, it reminded me almost exactly like him. I'm like, I've never seen Raising Arizona, specific. So I don't know. So Caleb, I have to ask you, is the character in Raising Arizona a lot like Lobo? Now I'm curious because Leonard Smalls. I guess. I don't know. I don't know the character. So like I don't know the character. So but yeah, so he's like, dude, he's like, God, it's so much like that character. And I'm like, okay, I'll take your word for it because again, I haven't seen it. But yeah, it's but better be. I don't know what you're talking. Okay, he's a bit more tough and serious. Okay, all right, interesting.
All right, let's keep going. We got more picks.
That's what I was like asking because I was really curious to know like that character. And now that I know, thank you for that. Anyway, good picks, except for Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. That sucks. But moving on. But I believe this is Airplane, Superman the movie, the
Movie Spud's got some good picks. Actually, hold on. Let me find out. I gotta start putting the titles back.
Is that the third man? I think that's the third man on the.
Yes, you are right. That's the third man. It was Airplane, Superman, and then Hitchcock's Notorious. Dude, I forgot how good Notorious was. Notorious. Dude, that movie is Ingrid Bergman, Cary Grant. It's amazing. If you love a good peak, what would you call it? The golden age of Hollywood. like from the 30s. Like, yes.
I mean, that was Orson. I think
great
that was
picks.
Orson Welles, right? Yeah, it's Third Man. That's on my list. I still need to see so many more classics. I haven't seen enough.
Yeah, we gotta. Maybe we'll do like that could be a topic for a tier list or something. But yeah, Superman, 1978 Superman, The Third Man, Airplane. I mean, all great movies. I could live with Notorious.
Movie Spud is
my
just
favorite
goated.
genres.
Like he's just like I got everything from like every decade. Here we go. So good.
Well,
for you,
from the
Movie
20th
Spud.
century, but yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
let's keep going.
Awesome.
Enterprising also, I think, misunderstood the assignment a little bit. So all movies from the island.
They had an alternate list that the Hail Mary project. I think you mean Project Hail Mary. Superman, Wall-E, and Up. Those are your.
Oh, those are some
actual
banger. Okay, those are banger lists. Okay, movies, I should say.
You need to watch more movies then, bro. Come on,
Dude.
Godzilla,
Dude.
Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Come
No,
on,
Caleb is
man.
trying to be
Fucking
letterbox
Ben-Hur.
cool. You know what it is? Because Caleb is trying to be letterbox cool. That's why he's like, "Oh yeah, 12 Angry Men is the Holy Grail movie from the 50s." I'm like, "Go fuck yourself,
Okay.
bro."
Okay.
Like, seriously.
Okay, I will say, don't besmirch 12 Angry Men. 12 Angry Men is one of the best
No,
movies
I'm not saying it's not, but I'm like, that's like the 12 Angry Men is the only movie I like from the 50s, bro. Like, go fuck yourself in the ass. Like, you're not that highfalutin, man. Like, there's other good movies out there, and I'm talking about the 50s.
No
the last
offense,
I checked,
Stan, I will,
The Dark Knight
I will
was
have
not
to agree
from
with
the
him
50s.
on that one. Dark Knight's a
So-
phenomenal movie, but 12 Angry Men is better. Anyway.
I disagree, but that's okay. But okay, the Enterprising's original list was The Blue Lagoon, Castaway, Jurassic Park, and Swiss Family Robinson, all movies on an island. But I think his alternate list is pretty good too. So
Yes.
yeah,
Right there.
yeah.
Anyway.
Did I wreck the community? It's 1 week. Figure drawing. It's 1 week. You can. We'll. This was a topic you guys picked, for example, a topic that you guys.
All right, Reeves has his own Double Indemnity, Blue Velvet, Night of the Hunter, and The Dark Knight. Wow, what a fucking
Blue Velvet and The Dark Knight. Love it.
Night of the Hunter is really like it's very slow, but
Yeah.
it's very well done. Robert Mitchum is excellent in that movie. I have not. I think I own Double Indemnity, but I have not seen it yet. So
One of the
good
one
picks,
of the best
everybody.
of his genre. Yeah, absolutely. Great picks, man. Great
Fucking
picks from
Caleb.
recent. I mean,
Caleb, I heard David Lynch mentioned. I am back in
Blue
chat.
Velvet. Yeah. Okay, now Tony, dude. Okay, so this is big because Tony's actually with us live.
I love how all of these
and
are like
that's rare.
tinted fucking blockbuster action films.
Tony's got a vibe, you know. But he's also
Yeah,
got some great picks here.
Very much.
He's got a couple
he
of
loves
Nolan
sci-fi
movies.
action films, which
James
I'm not
Cameron.
besmirching. These are some fucking great.
These
I
are
will
amazing.
Say, I'm not a huge Matrix fan. Like I respect it. I don't love it, but this is a pretty goated list.
But
not
the
gonna
first
lie.
one, okay, because he was like he didn't say Matrix Reloaded, he didn't say Matrix Resurrection, or the other one that I forget the name
Revelation.
of. Revelation,
I've
whatever.
never even seen them.
It's you really, dude. Okay, anyway.
No, I've seen the first one, and that's the only one that
Okay.
matters. I haven't. Why
The
the
sequels
fuck
are
would I
good
watch
too.
the sequels? They all suck ass.
But I mean, Tony, you picked some bangers. You got Terminator 2, Judgment Day, Inception,
Well, Dan
The
is
Dark
a fucking
Knight.
a
and The
Photoshop
Matrix.
legend at this point. Come on
So,
now.
Yeah, I mean, I do my best. I mean, obviously, I didn't make the posters. The posters look great onto themselves. So
Yeah. But great list,
Matrix
Tony.
Reloaded
Wow.
has some great sequences, but I feel like the first Matrix is still the better movie, Johnny. But
Yeah.
touche.
And
Good for
then
you,
we
Cal.
have Liz's. Unfortunately, she's not here
Liz,
today,
dude, remember?
but-
Okay, I'm just gonna give you guys a bit of a behind the scenes insight. Liz had 5 movies on her list. Like, I literally said pick 4 movies, and she sent me. I'm like, wait, these are 5. I did the math. I'm like, oh. And then she was like, okay, I can't get rid of any. These are literally my 5 favorite movies. I'm like, okay, but that's the whole point of Mount Rushmore. And the movie that she dropped from her list was Breakfast Club. So that's
which I
will
will say 100% is the weakest one out of all these. Actually, no, it's better than Robin. Hood.
So-
Never mind. Fuck what I just said.
Okay, you know what, Figure Drawing? We'll pick the topics for the next one later. I mean, is my volume low? Is that what you guys?
No, your
Can you guys
volume
hear
is
me?
actually surprisingly
Oh,
good.
okay.
Usually it's low. Sometimes I.
Oh,
Make it a
okay.
little
I think I just
louder
saw a
before we
note
start,
somewhere.
but-
Anyway, great list from Tony's wifey. So Liz picked Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, the original Ghostbusters, The Fifth Element, and The Lost Boys. Great movies. Also, I don't think we've seen any of these on the... Well, Fifth Element we've seen a couple of times. I think a few people said Fifth Element, which is... I'm surprised. I'm surprised that that many people picked Fifth Element.
Yeah,
it's such a broad ranging topic.
At least two people picked Fifth Element, which again, I've heard it's great. I'm gonna see it when it gets re-released, so we'll see.
Yeah. Well, let's keep going. Now, John, you got to tell us what you picked.
Yes.
And why?
So I picked 2 of my favorite films of all time, and then 2 movies I have rewatched like a million fucking times. Because I was like, I want movies I love and rewatchable movies. So The Thing, greatest horror film of all time, my favorite film of all time, one of the greatest horror films ever made, one of the greatest films of all time, period. Just brilliant in every sense of the word. I love it. And it's just absolutely excellent. Back to the Future is a little bit of both. I've rewatched this movie like this and Back to the Future Part 2 are my favorite. I love seeing the future stuff in Back to the Future Part 2, and then after they like leave 2015, I stopped caring.
Where are my hoverboards, Sean?
But the first one, I watched it. Like, I love this movie so much. I watched it twice in theaters because it was like for like a whole week, and mainly because my Predator Badlands early screening got canceled. So I'm like, I'm here. I don't want to go home. Oh, hey, Back to the Future is playing again, so I'm gonna go watch it again. So I can watch it endlessly. It's my second favorite film of all time. I love it so much. It's just amazing, brilliant, one of the greatest comedies of all time, one of the greatest sci-fi movies of all time. And hey, it was a leftover from time travel movies, which we never got to do.
Yeah, somehow
that's
never got
fine.
voted.
I don't mind. But Back to the Future, fucking excellent. And then,
by the way, speaking of watching endlessly, I can watch Sigourney Weaver and Galaxy Quest endlessly.
Oh my god!
But
like Galaxy. Okay, here's the thing. My family, whenever here's the thing. We rarely agree on a movie. Like, we can go through the fucking, like, on demand, we can, like, go through, like, fucking 200 movies and we'll never agree on one. So one of 3 movies we'll always end up watching: My Cousin Vinny, Galaxy Quest, and The Birdcage. I was so close to, like, putting Birdcage on here. If I had 5 choices, I would have put Birdcage. However,
dude, my biological clock is ticking like this. Come on.
Is there any more shit we could pile on the top of this case? Is it possible? Anyway, so Galaxy Quest and My Cousin Vinny aren't in my top 10 greatest movies of all time, my top 10 favorite movies of all time, but they are movies I can rewatch endlessly and never get tired of, and I think that would help being stuck on a deserted island with a portable DVD player. So, it, like, Galaxy Quest, like, my family my family quotes the latter 2 all the time. Like, is there air? You don't know. With the red thing, he's going towards the green thing. I think we're the green thing. Maybe you're the plucky comic relief. Oh, that's not right. Like, I'm pretty sure
it's so good.
He wants to think. It's like pouring gasoline on a flame. Just, like, we gotta get out of here before one of those things kills Guy. You have a last name, guy. Like, honestly, Sam Rockwell, like, fuck 3 billboards outside Ebbing, Missouri. This is the movie he should have won an Oscar for. Like, Sam Rockwell in this movie is just fucking brilliant.
Dude, it's like, if you were ever the best actor you could have ever picked to literally, parody Spock would be Alan Rickman. It's just like, it's so good. Like, he could have been it's so
by
the late Leonard Nimoy, and
what a savings. It's essentially just 3 amigos in space, but, like, I'll fucking take it. Like, it's fucking amazing. Like, this movie shouldn't have worked. There was a lot of studio meddling. There was a lot of production problems trying to get it made. And when they finally did it, it just hit. And it's probably the best Star Trek movie of all time. Like, it's just speaking of Star Trek movies, but Galaxy, and then My Cousin Vinny, what apparently, according to many lawyers, the most accurate movie
help you with those
court
lonely
proceedings
nights
ever made.
Yes.
But like, it's just like ignoring the fact, and you know, she did win an Oscar for that, by the way. Fun fact: a lot of people thought they thought the Academy made a mistake, like, you know, what kind of like what they did with Moonlight many years later. But like, people were so uproared that like Marissa Tomei beat Vanessa Redgrave that people thought they read the wrong name. But like, you know, Queen got the fucking Oscar, and frankly, Redgrave can suck a dick. Anyway, but. But just Joe Pesci, it's just like literally Joe Pesci did like what a fucking like, I don't know if they were perfectly in a row, but he did Goodfellas, Home Alone, and My Cousin Vinny. Like, what a fucking like gauntlet right there. Just perfect.
And they couldn't have been more different from each other too.
Yeah, exactly.
Like all three.
And then you got the Karate Kid. The fucking Karate Kid is in this goddamn movie. Like, come on now. You fucking shot a good old boy. There was no way this wasn't going to trial. Or like the scene with like Stan and Joe Pesci in the jail cell, where it's like the entire conversation is a double entendre. One way, you're gonna get fucked one way or the other.
And you know what, John? On those lonely nights on the island, Marissa Tomei, I'm sure, will be a big help.
Well, if we're going that direction, then I would get rid of the first three. I would put Supergirl, The Suicide Squad, and what else is there? I don't know. Species. Then boom, those are the jerk off picks. Like if we're going for
wait, which
Supergirl?
Know? Wait, did you just the new one
or
the
one
old?
that just came out? Anyway.
Okay, got it.
But you know.
Hey, you know,
like
who knew Aunt May was really hot? Like,
she gives a fucking amazing performance.
It is, yeah.
In this movie, and it's just like, again, the rewatch. That's what I've been aiming for. Like I wasn't looking for long movies. I wasn't looking for, you know,
like rewatchability,
time like Marco. Yeah, I'm just like, I want a movie. Like, if I'm stuck here for fucking 10 years, I'm never getting sick of My Cousin Vinny.
Movies.
I'm never getting sick of Galaxy Quest. I'm never getting sick of Back to the Future. And I'm never getting sick of that.
That's what I did. Yeah,
and essential. And you know what would help with the thing? It's in a cold environment. So if I'm stuck on a hot desert island, I think the cold, like the being in the mindset of cold, will definitely help me with the thing. So you know, I think
the logic is there.
Stuff here.
Like back in college, I directed that scene with the My Biological Clock. We did a remake of it for like a directing class assignment.
Oh, that's cool.
And so it was like a lot of fun to kind of play with that. Just the two, like have two other actors redo the scene.
Damn straight. You know, it's rare that me and Figure Drawing can agree this much. But...
Anyway, okay, so great list. Now we get to Monique's picks, which she sent over right as we were going live tonight. So Monique, you have
list, but I like it. Like, even though Man
really
of Steel
good
is on
ones,
there, like it's still like an interesting. I like this.
Look,
it's very eclectic. I like it a lot.
I can agree. You know what? Honestly, outside of my 4 picks, I would probably take Monique's picks over anybody else's picks if I had to like.
If I had to pick somebody else's list, I would either pick Movie Spuds or Tony's. Those are probably my other two.
Great options. Actually, you know what? Tony's is also really good. I vibe the Tony.
I would have thought Tony would be. You're more the sci-fi action guy. I would have thought you would pick something.
No, like I did. Yes, okay, but like here's the thing. I also like my musicals. So she's got Shall We Dance here. This is a black and white movie with Fred and Ginger. Fred Astaire and I forget the full.
Ginger Rogers.
Ginger Rogers. And then, of course, she's got Singing in the Rain. You know, Singing in the Rain is one of the greatest musicals of all time. It's one of those. It's so fundamental to how so many musicals are made even since then. Is that it's like the Romeo and Juliet to romantic tragedy movies essentially. And then Monique picked a Marvel and DC film. I think Captain America: The First Avenger is a grossly underrated film. It's actually it's one of my favorite MCU
most
films.
of Phase 1 is, except Iron Man 2. Iron Man 2 sucks ass, but like
and I mean, John, I mean, Monique, you guys know this. Man of Steel is still my favorite Superman movie. It's whether you like it as a Superman movie or whether you like it as an Alien, First Contact movie. I think to this day that is like this. Despite I did feel originally watching the movie that the third act becomes too much like, a Dragon Ball fight because it's so gray and they're just like in the air floating and fighting. Like there's no sense of grounding at some point, but the rest of the movie, the ideas that it tackles, the way that it does it, I still very much relate to that like version of Superman. Not like on a personal level because I'm not that, but like, you know what I mean? Like it's the whole idea. And also some of the themes are very relevant. Yeah, well, some of the themes are very relevant, like an alien and like an immigrant story. Essentially,
I think everybody
is what
does.
Superman is.
Like, come on, like
so
it's just one of those cases where it's just like even if you haven't seen it,
or you don't fit. Also, yeah, I mean, Singing in the Rain is iconic. Singing in the Rain. If you were to do like if you were an alien that came to Earth, what are the 4 movies you're slipping them to watch to catch up on humanity?
Don't run for cover, Tony. This is a safe space outside of Caleb, but he doesn't matter. It's fine. If you like Man of Steel over 2025 Superman, that's fine, bro. Like, you're good. That's okay. Like, I disagree, but I'm not gonna kill you over it.
I mean, look, dude, and for the ladies, you get a young and hot Chris Evans. Remember that scene where Peggy walks up and she's like, and he's like, you almost hear the sizzle, like you're like
and that was Haley Atwell. She wasn't supposed to do that, but Haley Atwell, that was her seeing Chris Evans like super muscular for the first time. So she was like,
she's like, oh shit, and he's got body oil all over him. Like it's like, is this like, oh shit, and then of course you get Henry Cavill, you get a shirtless Henry Cavill. Like, come on now. I understand why the ladies like that. And then, singing and dancing. It's Monique's list is really good. And they're hopeful movies too. Right? I mean, I think Man of Steel ends with a very hopeful message.
But,
Well, it ends with a hopeful message. I'm just saying. It ends with what are you going to do when you're not saving the world? Well, I got to keep my ears to the ground and, work somewhere where nobody's going to come asking questions when I have to go somewhere dangerous and, ask questions or whatever. Anyway, I still mostly memorized like the end of that movie. It's one of my favorites, always will be. Movie Spot saying, want to watch the most jaw-droppingly cool dance scene, watch the Nicholas Brothers in stormy weather. Yeah. Yep. I want it to be Steve because Peggy is a 10. You know what, Enterprising? That was me in that scene as well. You're not wrong. You're not wrong about that, but okay. I think that was a great Mount Rushmore Monday, regardless of whether some of you guys missed the whole idea behind what we were asking for. But you guys sent us some new ideas for what we could do, maybe like the best movies of the 21st century. Maybe we could do like Tom Cruise movies, stuff like that. Like, we could do an actor. The best 4 movies of the 21st century would be a very diverse list too. So, okay, well, we'll have those topics for next. We'll put up the poll by the end of the week, and then on Monday we'll know who the winner is, and you guys can post your 4 for next Mount Rushmore Monday. This was fun. All right, let's move on to quick hits. John, let's get to these quick hits as fast as we possibly can. You ready?
So, First things first, Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse producers share a huge update on delayed threequel. We are deep in it. We're actually going today to the IMAX headquarters to see what the footage looks like at scale and make sure that it has the resolution that it needs to look gorgeous. So that's cool.
I didn't know they were doing it in that IMAX ratio. Like that's true IMAX 1:3.
Yeah, nice.
Okay.
Good for them. Dr. Showrunner Russell T Davies reveals real reason for his abrupt exit from the series.
He doesn't say much,
and he says time to move on. That's all. Yeah, that's real.
He's not giving any secrets away. I'm pretty sure he is an NDA.
Tom Hanks returns to the realm of baseball comedies with The Comebacker. Not a great title, but it sets July 2027 release date at Sony. So that's cool. I don't think it'll be as good as A League of Their Own, but it's good stuff.
Oh, by the way, did you realize I think it was yesterday or something, was like the 30th or something anniversary of Forrest Gump? It was. Nice. It's been like 30 years. Yeah, I was like, oh, that's one I gotta go watch. I wouldn't mind Forrest Gump on an island too. I think that would be a good movie to keep. You can watch that over and over again. It's like a whole journey of a man's life.
Yeah. Josh Brolin says he almost quit the Dog Stars because of Ridley Scott's unconventional filming methods. Yeah, it sounds about right. Yeah.
Well, because so Ridley Scott doesn't do a lot of rehearsals, and he doesn't do many takes. It's really it's pretty high stakes filmmaking the way he does it, and then oftentimes like he will have a lot of extras in the big scenes. So Josh Brolin, I mean, a lot of actors find that intimidating. Not surprised. But you know what, Josh Brolin, I'll say to you, life is a box of chocolates. You never know what you're gonna get. Sometimes you get Ridley Scott.
Speaking of Josh Brolin, Julia Garner. She's apparently going to headline Guilty Creatures.
32 years.
Apple TV thriller series based on the book. Craig Gillespie to direct and executive produce. So his career is fine. Like nothing's stopping him.
He'll be fine. We talked about this like a while ago when Craig Gillespie did an interview and said what's coming up next for you. And it was like, I got a show coming up on Apple TV. He's got 2 of them actually. This is one of those 2. So, and you know what? The Madonna biopic is not happening. The Madonna biopic ain't happening. So you know what? Julia Garner, good for her too. Guilty Creatures. Sounds like a lot of fun.
Neon plots awards push for Luca Guadagnino's Sam Altman movie Artificial. The acquisition comes on the heels of Amazon dropping the Hot Button project and Netflix focus and others passing.
I can't wait for Neon to have a victory lap with this movie.
This is like
just go get
this
him.
is the ultimate like fuck you, especially to A24 because Neon has always been in the shadow of A24. A24 just did that stupid deal with fucking Google. So the fact that Neon is like has always been in that shadow. It's like, oh, now it's time for
this
us
is their
to
chance.
Come back on top.
This is their
and
chance.
Then on top of that, they're having literally the fuck AI, fuck OpenAI, fuck Sam Altman movie. That's just it's gonna put Neon over the top, especially. Like, good for them. I hope they get all the things. So all the good things. Although ironically, speaking of, Tilly Norwood, the bitch that doesn't fucking exist, to lead new movie Misaligned, marking feature debut for. I thought this bitch died. Well, didn't we fucking read a story that she was like killed or whatever?
No, dude, it's AI. How do you kill an AI? Like, I don't even know.
I remember.
I don't even know how to
somewhere.
define
like,
her
Tilly
existence.
Norwood, they killed her off. She was done, and I'm like, well, that was
apparently this is gonna be a hybrid production where they're gonna actually have like a real film crew and directors and stuff, but then they're gonna be like doing some research along the way because I'm like, you're basically generative AI-ing your way through a movie. Especially like I don't even know how to describe like an AI actor. Like, what is that? Like, is it a program? Is it just like whenever you generate like what is your training data? I still don't understand the concept behind it. I don't know how this works. Caleb. Like, this is, I guess we'll find out like whenever this comes out.
I spit in your general direction. You fuck. Smelled the elderberries. Your mother was a hamster. Yeah, I don't think anybody with half a brain cell likes this, buddy. So, let's just move the fuck on before we get too depressed. Scribe sells Cutthroat, Kalshi, and Polymarket series to former Netflix film chairman in heated bidding.
Scott Stuber. That's good.
Yes.
I hope this is like painting them in the wrong light.
Not the movie that Kumail Nanjiani and Dave Bautista were in. Not that Stuber.
No.
Different.
Scott Stuber used to run Netflix. Now he's like he does a different studio. So yeah.
Yes. Anyway. Moving on. Here we go. Jesse Eisenberg on writing songs for the debut Zuckerberg and Now You See Me 4. So he talked about all these things and yeah.
So a couple of highlights. He talked about how he just got, I think was it Polish or Ukrainian citizenship? I think it's Polish citizenship.
Yes.
And he's like, look, it's easier to make the kind of movies he wants to make in Europe than it is in the US, which I get it. Like, US film market is a very commercial market. And he wants to make more of those like actor, like prestige and, just small indie stories. Also, he's like, look, I love to make a Now You See Me 4. I get to have so much fun. I just get to play this magician over the top character. In most of his other movies nowadays, he plays these like very, like real, like dramatic people. So, or like, not dramatic people, but like, drama and so he's like, this is like my way to sort of just have fun. And I would love to see more of those movies. I personally have a soft spot for Now You See Me franchise. So, but yeah, let's keep going. I mean, Jesse Eisenberg's doing good things. He's living his best life.
Speaking of doing good things, apparently Alamo Drafthouse launches distribution program to screen unreleased film festival movies in theaters. This is awesome. This is why Alamo Drafthouse is the fucking GOAT. Like,
which by the way, they're owned by Sony now. Like they remember they got bought by Sony. So like also this is good on Sony too for making this. Obviously they have to probably greenlight this idea.
Yeah.
So if you basically are a festival movie that did not get picked up for distribution, they'll put you in their theaters.
Yeah, which is awesome, because it's a shame where you won't get picked up. I mean, that's what happened with so many movies that they never got the chance because, you know, they just got screened once and then got locked up in a vault and never.
And so much work goes into those movies. People sometimes are like going into debt over stuff like that because they just want their one chance to break through. And, you know, this gives a chance for the people to, because remember, it's all about finding an audience, right? If a movie finds an audience and becomes successful through this program, then I bet you that would lead to somebody picking up the movie. So just giving them another chance is just fantastic. Even if it doesn't work out for every movie, this is great for young filmmakers who are trying to break through in an industry that still has too much gatekeeping, despite, I think, a lot of those walls coming down over the years. But yeah.
Anyway, speaking of stuff coming back, Kevin Costner's Dancing with Wolves set for a new restored director's cut that will launch at Locarno. Interesting.
Yeah, new film festival. Yep.
Nice. George Clooney will be honored at Venice Film Festival with Golden Lion for career achievement. Good for George Clooney.
Hey, you know what? If there's anyone who looks like a golden lion.
Majority of Americans support banning social media for kids under 16. Good luck policing that one, fuckheads.
And this, by the way, is across party lines. It's not even something as where it's just only one part of the political spectrum. Most people think it's a good idea for kids under 16 to not have access to social media. Although we have talked about this is so nuanced. But is that even the problem? Like, can you even fix it?
There's so many issues that comes up with this because it's like you're essentially what you're doing to kids is you're not giving them any space to fucking do anything, because it's like now you're taking away the one thing they have, and that's not their fault. That's the fault of fucking society. Like, I hate to do the "we live in a society" shtick, but like. It's just like every public space that is for kids, that was for young adults, always gets like they always get pushed out. Like, this has been a thing for fucking centuries. Like, look at it. Like, go back to the 20s. It was like, oh, pool halls. Fucking kids hung out there. Like, oh no, this is too dangerous for kids. Can't have you there. So they got pushed out. Then it was diners. It's like, oh, all the kids hang out at the diner. And it's like, oh no, we can't have them there.
I think what it is.
This is a respectable business establishment, so we can't have that. Then in the 70s and 80s, it was malls. And then it's like between, online shopping and like, people's hatred of kids, push them out there too. Then movie theaters, skate parks, fucking just public places. It's just people fucking like hate kids and they don't want them around, but then at the same time they're like, why do these kids keep fucking being on their phones? Because you're not giving them a fucking option to do anything outside. Everything costs money. Everything is expensive. Kids don't have a fucking income to fucking do anything. So you're essentially trapping them in this bubble of nothingness. And it's just like, kids, they're reading now. It's like, okay, cool. They're going to be trapped in their room, have no social skills, have no fucking life, and have nothing because society has just barred kids from every public place in existence because fuck them, I guess. I don't know. I get what the surface level shit with this, I get it. I understand. Too much social media is brain rot. I get that, but then at the same time, you're taking away their interactions with other fucking kids, with other fucking people that they need to survive because we are social fucking creatures, and you've banned them from all of fucking existence. So it's like,
well, I think
the kids' fucking social skills are gonna get fucking way worse, and this is not helping at all.
Yeah, I think like this. I think you're making a very broad point, which I think there's a lot of good examples you brought up too. But what I'll say, like, the idea behind simply just the social media, like, idea of like banning that for kids under 16, what that does is it takes the responsibility and accountability away from the companies and how all of these social media sites, their algorithms, and it's also
taking away
driving you towards
parents.
Right. Well, but like I think it's taking responsibility and accountability away from the corporations that run these social media platforms and putting them on the consumer. Because the whole reason why social media became toxic for kids was because these platforms don't police the content well enough to be to the standard for kids where it's safe enough. They don't police bullying. they also allow content that is incredibly dangerous and just the wrong kind of thing. You would not take your kid to to an X-rated movie or R-rated movie, but you can easily access it on social media. There's other examples of that and inappropriate elements, and it's not a safe enough place. And these algorithms are all designed to maximize engagement, which is, while you do get some social interaction, because in our increasingly isolated world for young people who are not, like you said, playing in parks and stuff, it's also the issue of what you're doing is you're creating a system where they get addicted to their screens, which, I mean, that's bad for humans in general, but it's especially bad for young developing brains that, for kids. So it's kind of like that. It's the same. I will make the same. The analogy to this is banning social media for kids under 16 is like saying, we are not going to allow anybody under the age of 16 to buy bottles of soda that are in plastic. You can only buy cans or something. It's like, it's the same idea of, passing the buck onto the consumer, because you can't stop making plastic bottles for your, liquid found the water, soda products, because it's, creates a lot of waste. Like, just switch to metallic containers. And it's the corporations passing the buck onto the consumers rather than them being the ones held accountable. I think that's the problem ultimately, because the social media platforms should be the ones changing, not the access to those platforms. But I digress. I feel, this is a big topic, but I mean, look, other countries have done it. Americans support it. Is it going to happen? Social media lobbies are way too powerful in the U.S. They're not going to let this pass in any other, national or federal or state level legislatures. So we are stuck with what we have, unfortunately.
Yep.
So.
Anyway, but here's something more exciting for you, Dan. The Power of Family returns once again. So yeah.
I don't have friends. I got family.
That is indeed true. I don't have friends. I have family. Vin Diesel over the weekend posted on his, I think, Instagram account that they just started filming Fast Forever. It's, of course, going to hit theaters March 17, 2028. So not next year, but the year after. Vin Diesel also, by the way, showed up in both. You remember there was FIFA World Cup matches over the weekend. I think on Sunday, England was playing, and then the earlier match was the Brazil match. Before both of those games, they had Vin Diesel do this promo, which was all about family, like just really leaning into it. If you haven't seen it, look it up. It just, if you're a fan of Vin Diesel just spouting the virtues of family, then if you watch I know MTG probably knows what I'm talking about. But it was great. I loved it. I was like, they used him in all these promos because they're promoting the 25th anniversary re-release of the original Fast and Furious movie this year, which comes out in August, I think. So, just back in theaters. So this was fun. I guess they're starting to work. I mean, this is probably the set from that, but they are, getting started with producing the movie itself. So Fast Forever, the last movie in the franchise, at least, the mainline story for now.
Burn. Next up, new promo for Spider-Man Brand New Day includes a snippet of Michael Giacchino's score for the film, which in this is this very cool drone show. So,
it sounds cool. Michael Giacchino, man. Like, Michael Giacchino does not miss. So I listened to this. It kind of sounds fun. I mean, we haven't really gotten a peek at much of the soundtrack or the score in the trailer. So I really like this little promo. For a moment, I thought it was like the Hans Zimmer score from The Amazing Spider-Man 2 with like the horns and like the traditional orchestral instruments. But I like the sound of the new movie score quite a bit, even just from the little bit we get here.
Yeah. But next, well, looks like
this
something
content is not
deleted.
available. What was it supposed to be?
I have no idea.
Oh, you know what it was? It was Loki and Spider-Man were at Wimbledon. Basically, Tom Hiddleston and Andrew Garfield were at Wimbledon this weekend. So yeah.
Okay. Cool. But now your boy Chris Nolan, Matt Damon talking about Chris Nolan, how he has like Casio fucking video
those
decks,
Casio
and that's
TVs,
how he views
like
the
the little
movie.
Yeah, he doesn't like take a small HD monitor with like a Terra deck on it with a wireless feed from Video Village. He's like, nah, man, I just give me a little Casio TV, and he gets them off eBay. This is great.
And he has like,
I'm like, you know what? If
20
it
of them.
works, it's he probably like got every single last one that's left in the world. Basically, Matt Damon was saying he just uses them to see the frame line, which is because, you know, the frame that you shoot, what you see in movie theaters is usually when they film a lot more, and the frame line defines the area that's going to be on screen. And yeah, I mean, it works for Nolan. It's worked for him for years, and you know, why use anything else? Speaking of, like, you know, old school technology like DVD players, this is even older than that. I mean, it's like, you know, late 90s, early 2000s. I respect the hustle. Sir President Christopher Nolan. He's too cool for school. He literally is too cool for school.
If you're not first, you're last. But anyway, speaking of,
Yeah.
Samantha Morton's performance as Cersei in The Odyssey received a standing ovation at the Christopher Nolan cast and crew screening, the first time since Heath Ledger in The Dark Knight, which is interesting because I thought fucking Charlize Theron was playing Cersei. So interesting.
That's what we thought though, right? That is true. I'm wondering, like, wasn't Charlize Theron playing that character? But interesting. Well, we'll find out. Maybe there's a twist in the tale of The Odyssey.
But The Odyssey, Matt Damon, Tom Holland, Zendaya, Anne Hathaway, Robert Pattinson, Travis Scott, Caleb's favorite musical artist, hit the red carpet for world premiere in London. Which I don't like Travis Scott being there either, but like, you know.
They look great. They also did a photo call, which is like more just for the press, and they also look snappy for that one too. So yeah, the promotional tour is on for The Odyssey, and they started off in London, which is, you know, accurate because half of this cast is from the UK. So,
yeah. You know who isn't from the UK? Our favorite boy here, and that's Ryan Gosling. During the long
after
weekend,
105 days,
and then
Project
after
Hail Marys and Amazon
this
Prime.
was me, right? Like, oh, the weekend's over, damn. But you know, it's okay. We still love you, Ryland, and we still love Ryan Gosling. So it's fine.
Grace Rocky Save Stars, yeah. Jazz hands, amaze.
And that's it.
Have you seen it? Have you seen it recently, John? Did you get to see it on Amazon Prime? Did you watch the movie?
No, because I want to watch it with my mom. She hasn't seen it yet, so I want to try and watch it with her. And she, you know, you need to watch it at a very specific time. She's like, I'm doing stuff.
I hear you.
Like, and then she's like, oh, I'm watching. I'm like, Matt, you're watching the Mets.
9
The Mets
days till the
fucking
Odyssey.
suck. Let's watch something that's actually good to watch. So, you know,
That's one of those things where I'm like, 9 out of 10 times you're gonna watch the Mets over your lifetime, they're gonna suck.
Yeah,
Like,
they're gonna
when
suck,
they're
but
not
that's
sucking, it's
okay. That's okay.
Very rare.
Here's the thing, being a Mets fan, it's taught me to be humble. So you know what?
Yeah.
I wasn't
Kind of like when you're a
raised,
Jets fan, you know?
Yeah, it's like I wasn't raised
It's
as one of
rough.
these Yankee jackasses who fucking thinks they're owed the world because they're a Yankee fan. I was humbled. I got bullied a lot,
Yeah.
and that's okay. But it made me the man I am today.
You
so I'm
appreciate the
happy
good
about
times more when you are
Yeah.
a Mets
Yeah.
fan. So,
it. Yeah.
On that lovely note,
you,
you know
David
what?
Stearns.
As DC fans, you also appreciate, you know, the times that are good
It's kind
because
of the bare minimum, but sure.
yeah, of late, you know what, you're not wrong, and I think all of us should appreciate our parents because, you know, there will be a day when they're not around, and if those of us who have lost them know exactly what we're talking about. So on that lovely
Let's not
note,
get too depressing.
let's get into DCU Daily. Let's get blessed. Even though Supergirl's not looking all that blessed right now.
It's another project that's been blessed from the beginning.
There's the shot right there. That
Okay, we don't need to see
right there.
Hey, buddy. Eyes up here.
Now you want to get nuts?
Let's get nuts.
Here we go.
Victory mine. Ask me how am I doing? I'm telling you really I'm doing sublime. I never wait in a stewardess line. I just go do it. I'm moving my time. Really had nothing to do with it. How am I moving? I'm moving like you want to shine. Follow my lead. Don't listen to lies. I had to put me all in the line. That's why I know that victory's mine.
I prefer Jared Leto.
All right, welcome on in to another episode of DCU Daily. It is gonna be fun. We have a lot to get into. We got right. It's on a loop, John. But yeah, we got some Lantern stuff. We got definitely a lot of Supergirl stuff, Man of Tomorrow stuff, a lot of Batman stuff.
That's why I keep
What are you
playing
doing?
I'm just being a silly Billy.
What I don't get what's going on. John is doing stuff for reasons that are unbeknownst to me. But John, what are you excited to talk about with DC?
I'm excited.
You sound really excited.
I'm so excited, bro. I'm so excited. I'm excited to I'm not really excited for anything today. Like honestly, all of it's kind of mid. Like I don't really care at this point. It's just like the Batman Part 2, which I'm not really excited for. It's just talking about how fucking Supergirl is just one colossal failure. And then, it's just like the quick hits are like, just kind of stuff I don't care about. So, you know what? I'm being honest. Nothing excites me right now.
That's great, John. I mean, are you excited about the new Mr. Terrific show? I think
I am
that
excited
sounds
about
exciting.
the new Mr. Terrific
and
show.
the guy behind the Sandman show is writing it, not Neil Gaiman. But like, that's also.
And I mean, he also co-wrote the first Wonder Woman movie. So there's that.
Yeah, I saw that. I'm like, okay, as long as he didn't write the third act fight scene, I think I'm okay with it. But you know what, Caleb? Why don't you take that obsession of yours and put a pause on it? As much as you want to be the hater,
for a movie that you don't like very much, it kind of lives rent-free in your head.
It's fans like Caleb hating on great DC movies when they don't need to be hated. I bet Caleb hated Supergirl. I bet Caleb came out of Superman and thought that Superman was the worst movie made since the 21st century was put into whatever. I think Caleb is the reason why the DCU is struggling today, because fans like him who go and watch movies like Supergirl and then say, "Oh my God, this is the worst thing I've ever seen," who go through Dark Knight and say, "Oh my God, that's the worst superhero movie ever," who go and watch Superman Returns and say, "What the fuck were they thinking casting Brandon Routh?" Caleb is the reason why DC is in its dog days and doesn't seem to be able to get out of a hole. Caleb, shame on you. We should be appreciating the mid to sometimes amazing DC stuff that we get, because otherwise we won't get any more of it.
One of these is not like the other.
Tom King is his favorite writer. See what I'm telling you? Birds of Prey is his favorite DC movie. Oh God, I wouldn't even get to the Christopher Nolan part. Some kind of I'm not slandering Superman Returns. You are. That's anyway. You know what? Let's get to the quickest, John. Let's get to the DC quickest.
Anyway, speaking of Tom King, screeners for Lanterns are already sent out to critics and trades, and from what I've heard, it's absolutely fantastic. Say that again.
We'll believe it when we see it, is what I'll say. I don't even know how many episodes they sent out.
That screenshot of Miles Teller, just like whenever Fantastic would just bring up the picture.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Don't be like Caleb, is the message,
Well, I mean, be a shit poster, but be a responsible shit poster,
Exactly. There's hope.
But not for Lanterns, but that's okay. But Jennifer Holland was talking about Crypto and how he's the goodest of boys, and she was talking to Collider about it. But
I mean, look, she's the doggy mama to Crypto, the real life Crypto, Ozu, James Gunn and Jennifer Holland's dog. And she was like, look, they basically took a lot of the personality of Ozu and built it into Crypto's character, because he is like, that James Gunn says it all the time. He's like, he's knocking things over, he's getting himself into trouble, but he's the goodest boy. And that's what Crypto is. So I really love that they used, I mean, look, there's so many great dogs in the world, but I feel like Crypto the story behind the character, it's very much inspired by James Gunn's own dog. And I mean, if there's anybody else in the world who knows Ozu better than James Gunn, or as well as James Gunn, it would be Jennifer Holland, his wife. So, yeah, can't wait to see more Crypto. I mean, he's still one of the best things about the new DCU. So, can't wait to see more of him. I bet Caleb hates Crypto. Fans like Caleb. You know, don't be like
speaking of
Caleb.
things Caleb hates, Dark Knight Rises. Anne Hathaway says she thought she was auditioning for Harley Quinn in The Dark Knight Rises. I spent a week developing demonic Harley Quinn energy. I was wearing weird jester flats and a striped top. Then Chris is like, so the part is Catwoman.
I remember I've seen interviews about her talking about this. Like, this became like, obviously for her it was like a dream come true because she grew up with like the Michelle Pfeiffer version of the character, and she was like, I just happened to be the right age to play the character. And when she signed on for the role, she really, you know, did a lot. She did her research, and I think she did a pretty good job of the role. Like, she moved with you know, with the sensuous nature that Catwoman should. I remember people were like, Anne Hathaway's Catwoman is hot. I'm like, and Caleb probably doesn't think that, but you know what? Don't be like Caleb. Let's move on.
But yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. Glad
Yeah.
she was Catwoman and not Harley Quinn. This is Eve Ridley's makeup and hairstyling. And Katie Pierce Makeup was talking about how she got the ponytail for Ruthie, which is apparently a 7-strand braid look. I'm like, damn.
That is ridiculous. Do you look at that though? Like, that is, you know what? For
That's
all
a
that
work of
work,
art right
I don't
there.
think that is a work of, I'm like, we didn't even get to see it more than maybe for like 2 shots in the movie. I like, we should have gotten like a little.
They did the Spider-Man meme.
Hey, so many of them. Wow. Why do they have so many stunt doubles of Ruthie?
Well, because it's
That's
kids.
interesting.
She's a kid.
Oh,
She's
okay.
a minor, so they.
Oh
have
yeah,
to-
because they're more, they can't spend as much time on set. Oh, I get it. Okay,
Yep,
cool.
Yep.
Yep. Got it.
But yeah,
Perfect.
good stuff. This is great. I love this.
This is
This is
wild.
cute as hell. This is
I'm
adorable.
like, this is, yeah, I love it. And you know, these kind of things, when you get to hear about like how much detail and hard work goes into from thousands of people on these movies, like the production design department here, or the costume design in this case. Again, this is why I'm like, I'm always not as harsh as some people might be, like Caleb maybe on some movies, like, you know, rating Supergirl 4 out of 10. I gave it a 7.5 out of 10 because I was like, you know, it's hard to make a good movie. And even when you don't make a good movie, there's still people spend years, certainly months and years of their life working on it. So, you know, don't be like Caleb, appreciate Supergirl. Because, like, you know, look at how much work they put into this. So, yeah, you know, it is unfortunate, but you know what? We'll see. Maybe Ana Noguera will learn her lesson, or maybe not. Or maybe James Gunn will learn his lesson. So
maybe Dan
Yeah.
broke a one. Maybe you broke a one wish willow, Caleb, and this is what's happening right now.
yeah,
But
exactly.
apparently,
Don't be like Caleb.
going from the big screen to the small screen, apparently, Lobo is set to appear in the Starfire animated series. I mean, I'm probably not going to watch this, and Lobo isn't going to make me watch it, but it's like cute, you know.
Do you
give
think
me a fucking-
it's gonna be voiced by Jason Momoa?
No, well, it's not canon to the DCU, so I don't
Oh,
think it
that's
will
true.
be,
Yes,
but-
you know what? That is true. I wish it was canon. At this point, I'm just like, just make it all canon. Like, I don't know when we're gonna get Starfire, especially if Ana Noguera is writing the Teen Titans movie. I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't know. Don't be like Caleb. You know, watch Starfire. Appreciate what we get from DC. Anyway,
Yeah, it's like it's a cosmic. It's like Starfire and like 2 other space characters, and they're going off across the cosmos, like fucking Doctor Who or whatever. So it's like, all right, sure,
Mhm.
that's not
Yeah.
really Starfire, but okay, whatever fits. But speaking of cosmic characters, according to an insider, Martian Manhunter will appear
Rumor.
in the movie Man of Tomorrow.
rumor.
But this is
believe
from My
this?
Time to Shine.
Like,
So
I don't believe this.
I don't believe this. I don't believe it.
Yeah,
I know there's
Caleb probably
there was a
believes
couple
this,
actors,
you know,
there were a
but
couple black actors. I think Andre Royo and one other one that are like, oh, maybe they're Martian Manhunter because their roles were
Sinqua
undisclosed.
Walls.
Yeah.
Sinqua Walls, I think could if there's anybody, he could be it. But yeah.
But it's just like I don't think so. Like it's like the fucking movie is already going to be filled to the brim with shit. So like, I don't think so.
Like
I
this
don't
is
think
why
this is the case.
no, I had chicken today, Caleb. Maybe you like beef. Red meat doesn't agree with me. You know. Anyway. I was just gonna say, like, this is the same reason why I don't believe they're gonna put Batman in this movie. It's too big of a cameo. Like Wonder Woman, I think if they are actually doing Wonder Woman, I think that's the extent of which you want to make some kind of a cameo. So we don't need anything else. We don't need. I save it for later. As much as I want a Martian Manhunter, give it to me in a different movie. Like we just don't. You don't need it. Like I agree with you, Enterprising. What's wrong with beef?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's actually, I think, depending on your health profile, it may not be the best for you. I think it's like red meat versus white meat, something like that. Anyway, know your body, Caleb.
But apparently this
You do need
individual said,
Batman,
I'm at a
Wonder
clothing
Woman,
store
though.
trying to buy a plain gray hoodie. The cashier asks for my email for the receipt, and he's like, no, the hoodie's fine. He's like, give me a fake one. My manager tracks my capture rate. I panic and I blurt out batman@gmail.com. He types it in not slowly and says, thank you for your service, Bruce. And then the Batman fucking account was like, identity theft is not a joke, Samir.
Jokes, Samir.
And then somebody,
Millions of
you know,
people, millions of people are affected by it every year. Michael? Yeah. It's great. Bears
Anyway.
beats Battlestar Galactica.
Oh, Caleb, here we go.
There it is.
Rick
There it
Stunts. Here he is. Rick Stunts.
There
Not
it
Rick
is.
Stunts, but, you know, the Rick English doubled as Jason Momoa for local Space Hog sequences in Supergirl. He previously worked on the Batman, The Flash, Gross, and Mission Impossible franchise. So, yeah, Rick English. There you go, buddy. Anyway.
You know, his distant cousin Rick Stunts, I'm sure, is really proud of him. Yeah.
Yeah. I like how he's like not wearing like gloves. He's just wearing this weird muscle suit.
It's like it looks so bad, but it's a stunt suit, so who gives a shit?
There we go. Anyway. But why are we fucking looking at this shit, Dan? Why do you gotta fucking torture me like this?
No. Okay, I didn't want to go to I brought this up simply because I feel like these are the kind of headlines that feel very counterproductive. I bet Caleb wrote this article because Caleb is a guy who's like going to be like, James going to destroy you one sealed superhero at a time. I want my Martian Manhunter. I want my Wonder Woman. I want my Batman. And you know what, Caleb? I think you would be right in saying that because we should get a Wonder Woman. We should get a Batman. We should get a Martian Manhunter, even though he would probably be more like a C-list character at this point. But I don't think James Gunn is destroying the DCU. I don't think he's doing it a C-list superhero at a time. I do think, though, it's the problem that they put out Supergirl as the second movie in the franchise. And the next thing is Clayface, because the Clayface could be profitable. But if Clayface also becomes like, you know, as much of a flop as something like the Joker Folio do, which I'm not saying it's going to be, you could be in trouble. Like, I feel like what they needed to do was really prioritize the Batman movie out the gate. And we should have gotten a Wonder Woman movie by now. The fact that they didn't start working on it until like a year after they announced that slate. We've talked about it before, John. I feel like it's not C-list superheroes is only part of DC Studios' current problem. And it's still too early to tell because they did do a Green Lantern show and, you know, you would consider Green Lantern's an A-list character, but I just wish, you know, like there was more of a balance. But this kind of an article, you know, see, Caleb, if you believe this kind of bullshit, then you're clearly going there. This is why DC is in trouble today, because there's so many people out there that just learn the wrong lessons. And I hope that, you know, the new ownership of Warner Brothers is going to learn the right lessons from this Supergirl debacle. Anyway, George sent Gunn to destroy the DCU like Superman is supposed to be the destroyer. Wait, who's George? What? Who's George? You mean Feige? George? I don't know. Who's George Feige? Okay, there was a
He
spell.
meant Feige, but auto-corrected.
Okay. How did it autocorrect from Feige to George? That's
Because
interesting.
it has a G in there, GE, I don't know.
Like George Lucas? Anyway, all right, let's move on. Let's talk about the Batman Part 2, John. This is one of those, like, you know, people caught Sebastian Stan with a particular haircut, and they might be like, oh, he must be playing X character. Walk us through this one.
Yeah, so it's like, he has a bald look and he's clean shaven. Maybe he's playing Victor Zsasz. Maybe you need to, like, get out more.
Maybe he'll put on a wig and play another character. Who knows? You know, it's like you can go bald for any number of reasons.
Why can't fucking Two-Face be bald? Like, what? Like, it's not, you know.
Yeah. I think
I don't know. It's just like imagine like having the most perfect casting for Harvey Dent. Imagine if this is true, and it's like, oh, perfect for Harvey Dent. Let's have him play one of the most weak sauce Batman villain characters of all time. Like, Like nothing. I mean, Victor Sass isn't bad. It's just he's a fucking F-list villain. Nobody cares about Victor Zsasz.
Well, Jeff Snyder is the one who was hinted that he might be playing Victor Zsasz. Like the prevailing theory still is Two-Face, so we'll see which one it is. Yeah, I mean, Sebastian Stan also does like 6 movies a year, although I have a feeling the next movie he's working on is the Batman Part 2, but he could be filming something else at the same time. I mean, they probably have a budget to give him a wig for whatever look he's going to have. So, yeah. I mean, sometimes you'll just have a wig on because you have your hair a certain way for a different project. So when you walk on set, they're like, we just need you to... Or like you need them to look consistent over the course of months of shooting on a big movie. You're just going to put on a wig even though if your hair perfectly matches. So this is like, social media snooping and nothing more. But let's keep going.
Will Barry Keoghan return as the Joker in Matt Reeves' sequel?
Anyway.
Apparently it's Keoghan. That's how he pronounces it. So.
Oh, okay. Well, you know what, Barry? I'll trust your pronunciation. Not what probably Caleb calls you. Caleb probably calls you Barry Keoghan. But anyway, this report comes to us because Warner Brothers was doing like a CinemaCon equivalent event in France, where it was called Box Office Pro France, and they basically promoted the Batman Part 2, and apparently one of the executives there mentioned that the Joker will be back. It's not something that's been publicly confirmed, and the outlet that was there, Screen Rant, reached out for Warner Brothers to comment. Didn't get a response. Not surprised about that. But John, do you think Barry Keoghan is back? Because he was asked about it like in 2024, and he was like he hasn't heard anything about it yet. But obviously, 2024, Matt Reeves hadn't heard anything about the movie yet either. So like now that they're making the movie, do you think they're gonna have the Joker coming back? Because we do know that the Joker and the Riddler are in Arkham, and there are comic book stories that sort of bring the two of those characters together in one story against Batman. Could be building up towards the third movie in the franchise, or maybe you do the whole Silence of the Lambs thing. Do you think Barry Keoghan is going to be in the Batman Part 2?
I could see it in a very small role, like how he was in the actual film, like how he was in the movie.
I mean, he wasn't in the actual film.
No, he was just at the very end.
He was
talking to the Riddler. Where
we didn't see his face though.
What is it? A friend, and there is that.
We only saw him. We only heard him though in the actual official movie. The deleted scene is the only on-screen appearance though, right? So
yeah.
Anyway, it will be interesting. I don't know if he's going to have a significant role, because I mean, why do you hire Sebastian Stan and Scarlett Johansson unless they're meant to be playing non-villainous characters? We'll see. Yeah. All right. Well, that's all the Batman Part 2 stuff we got. Let's get to talking about the summer of Supergirl, which has quickly gone sour. So, John, there's reports going around. This isn't confirmed, but basically where this comes from is Apple now in their movie store has a listing for Supergirl. And usually when you see these listings pop up in like these digital stores, that means the movie is probably a few weeks away from being put on digital. And for most movies that, completely shit the bed at the box office, which is pretty much what Supergirl ended up doing, unfortunately, the timeline would, maybe imply, or it is estimated that maybe in a few weeks' time, as early as July 28th, Warner Brothers might be putting Supergirl on digital. Do you believe this? I know this is kind of speculation. It's not coming from any big source. But at that point, Supergirl would have been in theaters for like 5 weeks, which still is pretty much as long as Superman was in theaters before.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. The fact that they're they would keep Supergirl in, and for as long as Superman, which was a success, it's like, I love how like they would essentially take it out of theaters right before it gets destroyed by Spider-Man. Essentially, just like get it out of theaters.
Just don't let it don't let anybody make that comparison. Like, we're gonna be on the podcast. Oh, guys, by the way, guess where Supergirl is? 15, while Spider-Man is like making $500 million in its opening weekend. They don't want that smoke, which I think is completely.
I think that's a good decision. Like they realize, it's a flop, not great. We'll keep it in for as long as we can.
Dude, I'd be surprised if they don't put it on streaming sooner, considering that that's how long they kept Superman exclusive to theaters, and Superman made money, like, but I mean 30, that would be like 35 days, like 5 weeks on the dot pretty much. So Yeah, wouldn't be surprised to see this happen. But John, the next thing I wanted to kind of quickly touch upon, we talked about this for like an hour and a half on Friday. Everything that went down behind the scenes, we can kind of TLDR it. Basically, Craig Gillespie, and we'll do like a more extended, like I'll do probably an editorial on this about like how Supergirl failed and everything that went into it, with everything we know now about the director, the writer, and everything. But the short of it is, they hired a director, Craig Gillespie, who came in, pitched the script that he read. He said that he read the script and he did not read the comic because he just wanted to kind of make his own ideas. He told James Gunn. James Gunn was like, "Yeah, run with it. This is your graphic novel. You're not, Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow is a graphic novel, but this is your graphic novel." And so James Gunn kind of egged him on to do his thing. We end up with a movie that feels more Mad Max than it does the comic itself. And if you just kind of scroll through this, I mean, obviously we talked about on Friday that at one point, like even as early as last fall, the studio knew that things weren't working. Now, one thing look, of all the internet, like, pundits out there, the one person I genuinely really, really respect, and one of a few, is Robert Meyer Burnett. And I listen to his podcast every once in a while. And he was making a point. He, by the way, used to work for Warner Brothers. He was on the studio a lot, working for one of the SVPs in the studio. He shot behind the scenes documentaries for Lord of the Rings movies. He was on the set of those movies in New Zealand. Like he was on the sets. He was in the production offices a year before Superman Returns even cast Brendan Routh. So, he has some studio knowledge, and he was making a point on his recent podcast that one of the things that you studios used to do is, if you're an executive at a studio, every day you would get the dailies from all the movies your studio is making, and you would watch those back. And it was required for all the big studio executives and their assistants to show up to this screening on, like, I'm guessing a movie theater on a studio lot. There's probably many of them. And you watch back the dailies. So you get it. So you kind of, stay engaged with the movies that as they're being produced, as they're being shot, which today with the digital technology and being able to send all that stuff over the internet is more convenient than ever. You're not waiting for somebody to bring a reel of film and punch it into your projector. It's probably all, being transferred digitally and easy to do. And he was making the point, like, the studio shouldn't, like, if that kind of, oversight is still, happening today, then James Gunn and Peter Safran shouldn't have had to wait until they were editing the movie to find out things weren't working. Because oftentimes you can tell pretty early on that something is off about this. Now, for a VFX heavy movie, which I imagine they probably still previs a lot of things, I can see how, a lot of the shots didn't look the way they would have once the VFX were done. So until you really, get to see some rough cuts with some of the VFX, even incomplete shots, it might be hard for you to tell how things are going. But obviously in hindsight, you look at it now, like, the studio stepped in, had 2 cuts, they had 2 different editors. It wasn't as bad as like giving the movie to a trailer house to cut, like the Suicide Squad movie ended up with David Ayer being shut out of the post-production entirely. But John, where do you put the blame? Having sat on this for a few days over the weekend, we know now how post-production went, all the test screenings went, and like, is it the fault of James Gunn and Peter Safran for hiring the wrong director for the job? Was the script ultimately, do you think, to blame entirely, or is it a combination? Because a lot of people are saying that Anna Nogueira and Craig Gillespie were 2 wrong fits. You have one writer who doesn't have a single big credit. She's written a lot of scripts, but none of them had been produced for a feature film. And she was a script doctor at one point. She doesn't have a lot of experience. Then, of course, you have the director, who clearly, like, had a completely different vision for the story than what the comic is like. Not to mention then everything that went on in post-production with James Gunn and Peter Safran stepping in on the studio side, bringing in their own editor, having 2 different cuts. And then ultimately the cut that they put out, seemingly for most people's, 2 cents, was worse than the one they should have, which was the Craig Gillespie cut. Where do you put the blame now, for a few days after, like, going through all of this detail from the Hollywood Reporter article?
I think it's everybody. Like, it's just like, it was just, you put the 2 wrong people in charge, and I'm talking about Craig Gillespie and Anna Nogueira, not James Gunn and Peter Safran. I think James Gunn and Peter Safran essentially backpedaling on what they promised, and essentially, like, this is what I was kind of alluding to when this was first announced.
Mm-hmm.
I joked that it was DOA when they picked Woman of Tomorrow as a source for this movie, and
Yeah.
that's kind of ended up what happened. What happened, because essentially trying to make that movie, trying to make that comic a part of this universe in this continuity, it was never going to work. And maybe if you got like a really fucking amazing screenwriter, you maybe could have made it work. But essentially it just didn't. So with all of that, I think that, and it's not maybe, oh fuck Tom King, like ignoring all that. I'm looking at it from a logistical perspective, like getting my biases out of the way. It should have never have been even a thought. Like, if you want to do a Supergirl movie, fine.
Yeah.
Then wait a bit, like wait a bit, do a Wonder Woman movie instead. Maybe try to do like Wonder Woman and Supergirl in the same year, like have the Wonder Woman movie first as sort of like the safe bet, and then Supergirl is the more experimental risk, because that's a smaller character, and pretty much almost every iteration of that character has failed in live action outside of CW and maybe the Smallville version, but the CW show wasn't very good. So
I mean, still, I think is more beloved today than the movie, unfortunately. So
it's just, well, it's just like, because the thing is that comic heavily relies on a lot of experimental narrative structure, experimental ideas and themes, and it's very much it's a comic. It feels like a comic, and it's not like it's a good example, like a Serious House on Serious Earth, which is the Grant Morrison comic, Arkham Asylum. That is essentially what that can work, I feel like, as a movie, like maybe a bit more condensed, but like that kind of works. Meanwhile, Woman of Tomorrow is a mini series, and it works only as a mini series. Like, maybe you can condense it, but it just doesn't work. It's a planet hopping experimental adventure, a cosmic adventure, and I feel like that the way it's structured does not work for a film. Now, you could have it be what they should have done, and I might do a video on this on my own personal channel, is how they should have fixed it, because essentially what it should have been is like just take the idea of like a bounty hunter hunting someone and just simplified it. Just have it be Supergirl versus Lobo. Like, they find out, maybe because Superman isn't as well known, they think that Supergirl is the last survivor of Krypton. Like, Argo City is 100% dead at this point. And I think with that, they should have just like, they hear, Supergirl's last survivor of Krypton. Okay, we'll get big money for her, dead or alive. Okay, who's the best bounty hunter in the galaxy? Lobo. Boom, Lobo, you're gonna get fucking $100 million for this.
I think that would make more sense. Yeah.
And then like you can throw in some B plot in there to help figure shit out. Maybe those are the flashbacks. I don't know. But like that's essential. That's what it essentially should have been. Because like even though Lobo is a pretty niche DC character, he's still more well known than Krem of the Yellow Hills, who appeared once and never again. So like in an Elseworld story. So that's what I think they should have done. And I think like because of that, that was kind of the domino effect. And then you had a first-time screenwriter, as you said. She didn't have much experience. She wrote a play and then was a script doctor on a couple things, which is like not great. And
she did mention she's written other scripts, but it's also the thing of like, as a screenwriter, you can write a lot of scripts, but if none of those got produced, they don't. I mean, it's not like they don't count, but it's also like they didn't go through the process of being.
They didn't go through that necessary process of showcasing. Like, you can write, but can you write well? And can you write well enough that it translates into a visual medium and not just reading?
Not to mention 150 million plus major blockbuster tentpole from a big major Hollywood studio. Like, it's like going from literally 0 to 200 miles per hour.
And
for the
and then on top of the fact they got Craig Gillespie, which I think was a wrong choice for this. It's definitely reads like a guy who's like, I didn't read the comic. It's like Ronald D. Moore being like, I didn't fucking play God of
Right.
War because I didn't like video games. It's like, then why are you making a video game show? Like, that makes no sense to me. So it's just like, I get people that are like, oh, I want to do my own thing, want to do my own story, but like, you got to have some kind of respectability for the comics. And because the thing is, you have to understand at the very least comics because of when you're adapting them properly, because it's, you can't just do a 1-to-1 adaptation. I mean, usually it doesn't work. I mean, for a lot of people, Watchmen didn't work. I mean, I like Watchmen, but like, that was very much not an adaptation of the
MTG.
comic. It was Zack Snyder's interpretation of the comic, and it's very different. The
You would
themes
know
are very
Kyle.
different. It's more of like, I don't want to say basic bitch superhero writing, but it's like he made it more of like modern superhero vibes than what Alan Moore did with the original graphic novel. So,
Right.
you know, because you got to understand
updated a lot
what to
of things.
keep, what to get rid of, and you have to, when you're writing, that's important, but even when you're directing, you have to understand, okay, what should I sacrifice, what should I keep, and you have to have like at least a little bit understanding, a little bit of respectability on, okay, what works in a comic book, can these things work in a movie, and what works solely in a movie, and that translation. And that's the biggest
Well, I
problem,
mean, but
'cause it
like
feels
Craig Gillespie never read
Gillespie-
the book.
and he never read the book, and
he never read the book. So
and the
how
thing
would you?
is,
I don't
Craig
even.
Gillespie,
We don't even know.
I feel like
what
just
he knows.
didn't understand
Yeah.
like that point of view, that narrative, and that's, I feel like, because yeah, I might shit on Tom King a lot, but like if you're trying to fucking understand that story, you can pick and choose then at that point. Like, I want to do my own thing. Okay, fine. Pull the Miles Morales. Nah, man, I'm gonna do my own thing. Fine. Okay. But you still have to go back to the comic and make that decision to not do anything because you still have it in your head. Like, I understand you don't want to sway your filmmaking style and all that bullshit, but like at the same time, when you read that comic, then you have that choice to reject it fully or not. The fact that you didn't read it at all, you don't even have a choice. You're just blissfully unaware, and that's also not really
Right.
good. So, and then on top of the fact, okay, fine, Craig Gillespie is directing this story, directing this script by a first-time screenwriter, essentially, and with all of that, James Gunn didn't respect his vision. And it's like, now we're back in the days of Walter Hamada.
Although he told him in the beginning,
Yeah, exactly.
you know, like he told him.
That's what
in
I
the beginning
mean by
to-
like backpedaling. Like, I'm not, and I'm not a
yeah.
Gunn dick writer. This just goes, Joe. James Gunn did
Yeah.
all the wrong decisions in regards to this production. Like, if this is true, if this is 100% true, then James Gunn made all the wrong decisions. Then it shows like the shaky foundation now that it's like, well, you just fucking did all the things that everyone has been shitting on the DCEU for. So it's just like, where are we now? It's like,
Yeah, like
okay, it just doesn't.
Yeah.
It just doesn't work now. It's just like, okay, your vision, man, your vision, but I'm also going to take that vision and chop it up my own way, and then we're going to shit that out into
Well,
theaters. And it's
I
like,
think on some
well,
level,
okay.
I understand that they were trying to make the movie better, and they just probably felt like at this point, what Craig Gillespie was doing was not helpful to the point. And you know, it's not like they shut him out. They just said we're gonna bring our own editor and then do it too. That's still problematic because you're also at the same time saying to Craig Gillespie, by virtue of hiring another editor, that what you are doing ain't working. But you know, over the weekend, what I kept on trying to go back to myself personally, John, like thinking about this, I'm like, you got to go to the root of the problem. Because I'm like, yes, ultimately, the Supergirl movie that we got is so unfortunate that, you know, I feel like this is going to hurt Amelia Alcock's career prospects for a while. And that is really unfortunate. And I mean, Craig Gillespie's got projects ongoing. He's got a resume. He's done other things. He had things lined up, you know, beyond Supergirl before he signed up to this project. We talked about it earlier today. He's got an Apple TV show coming up. He's got several other projects beyond that, movies and shows. He will be okay. James Gunn, obviously, and Peter Safran right now, you know, are running a studio. James Gunn is directing a movie. And even if, you know, they're not at DC Studios anymore in a year's time, they will still be okay because they've, you know, got resumes. They've got stuff that they're going to be doing. Ana Nogueira, I mean, you know, this
I
hurts
can't.
her career
Here's
too.
the thing. I'm gonna say
But
this right now.
I think Millie
I'm gonna say
Alcock
it.
to me is
I'm,
the one that I'm worried about. You know.
I'm
Yeah.
just gonna say this right now. I don't think Anna Naguera has a future at DC. Like they would be complete and utter fucking morons to keep her on. It's like if you're a first time screenwriter and you fail that badly, that your movie's not making this amount of money. And I understand there was edits.
I mean, it's kind of like the writers on Morbius and Madame Web. Like
it's
how
like
we talked about, like what the fuck had they written? You know.
It's like I'm not saying she shouldn't have a future, period, but like at DC, no. If she's still on Wonder Woman, if she's still on Teen Titans, those are pretty much DOA unless you can really pull some shit out of your fucking ass and make it seem like you are in fact able to make that work. And I don't think she is, at least from what the people can see. Maybe because maybe it's the opposite Zack Snyder problem. Zack Snyder's really good at adapting other people's shit, but then when he does his own shit, it fucking sucks. So, you know, when he has like a note for note adaptation, that's good. Dawn of the Dead, 300, Watchmen, those are the movies
James Gunn wrote Dawn of the Dead. Yeah.
That people go look back on for Zack Snyder and admit that those are probably his best movies. Meanwhile, the stuff that's like kind of sort of adapted, Man of Steel, BVS, Justice League, not great. And then his original stuff is fucking ass garbage, like Sucker Punch and Rebel Moon. So like it's an opposite problem. Maybe her adapting like a character, but essentially doing her own story, maybe that's better. Maybe her attempting to do Woman of Tomorrow and attempting to adapt the story, that's just not what she's good at. Maybe she's just better at just like, okay, I'm making a story with this character. One can only hope if she's still on these projects, but I don't think they're going to go outright and say that if that is the case.
I was gonna say, because that'd be a PR nightmare. Because again, Peter Safran and James Gunn, when they walked in the door, they were like, "We're not gonna be like the what there was before. We're not gonna be reactive."
And then
they didn't say that, but that's what they were implying. And then you make all these changes. I'm like, look, yes, it's a results-driven business, and I understand that you make a change when something is not working. But John, going back to my point about over the weekend, I was like really trying to figure out like who is like obviously the end product. I think the blame goes around. Craig Gillespie. Was the wrong director, ultimately had the wrong vision, made some wrong decisions.
Was the wrong writer.
Clearly, in hindsight,
the only person that wasn't wrong in all of this was Millie Alcock, and that's
she did a fantastic job. And unfortunately, she's going to end up taking a lot of the blame. Because most people are not going to be paying attention to the other stuff.
It's just like everything for her was just wrong, and that's a real fucking shame because she's not. These typical, like she's not a Sydney Sweeney where she's beloved and for whatever reason.
She's an outsider. She's
really like she only had like House of the Dragon to her name and Sirens, as well as a couple other
she got after
Supergirl productions.
Yeah. And she picked that up after Supergirl. Like she's still she's not really
I'm just talking about the stuff
person.
That released before this movie.
Yeah.
So it's just like and I have something to say about Millie Alcock. I'll talk about it later, but because we still have some stories to get through.
So,
but it's just like, it sucks. And the thing is, the controversies that surrounded her. Oh, she's ugly because she's not like a what is considered conventionally attractive by a largely male audience. And I personally, I think she is a very beautiful woman. I think she seems like a wonderful person. So it's just like, I'm just trying to talk about like logistics in terms of all this. I'm not trying to be mean or anything or all of that. So that's just all I'm talking about. So she's not that. Then she's, it also didn't help that she started off kind of shy. So that wasn't great either. Then she got, unfortunately, the biggest thing was she got baited. She fell into a lot of traps. I don't blame that on her because she is very new to this press junket thing. She fell into two big traps. One of the traps was responding to backlash. The other is the LGBTQ problem. Now, I'm not saying that that's a problem, but usually what some people do, and smarter people would kind of bob and weave this a lot better, or people who know this, who know the press junket well, is that a lot of reporters will ask something in regards to queer identity. And if you don't know how to bob and weave that in a very PR way, you're going to fall into the trap. And that's exactly what happened with Millie Alcock, is that she's like, oh, I hope to.
Although, again, I feel like those are small
I know.
things
It's like, I know what you're going to say. But the thing is, that causes, that what I'm trying to say with all this, that causes controversy. That stirs the pot. That gets people talking in a negative way. And you think, like,
do you think that was enough?
It matters. It matters in the space that, like, where this movie is being pushed, and that's social media. So that's,
but I'm just like, but
problem.
is it enough to create such a big impact on like the box office?
I think
and
it
the
does.
Overall perception?
I'm gonna be real with you. I think it does.
Because I personally disagree. I mean, let's agree to this, because I personally disagree that makes
that's fine, and that's okay. That's why we have a discussion.
Difference.
But here's the thing. Yeah. I'm on social media a lot.
I agree with you, Jay.
And the thing is, I know people who are
on
social media bigger than I am.
That addresses but that's maybe that kind of impacts your bias a little bit. And I'm like, I know we are all biased in our own ways, but like you're more exposed to that than maybe the
I know that, but like
person,
at the same time, I know it's about the character, but it's a bait trap. Like it's like.
Well, yeah, but also I don't feel like she said anything controversial. I'm like, she also
not
didn't.
To you, not to me, not to a lot of people, but to a certain group of people, it's deemed controversial, and that's what.
But again, do you think those people would have gone to see the movie anyway? You know what I mean? It's like
no, but the thing is, they spread hate, and that's the problem, and it causes people who were second guessing.
But also, I feel like those are like smaller circles too, like in general. But anyway, okay, look.
But that's just my opinion.
That's okay, fair. But like, what I wanted to touch upon look. I've been trying to get to this for a bit, and I feel like I've been thinking about this all weekend. Look, I'm like, where does the true blame for this ultimately lies? And look, it's easy for us to sit here and blame somebody for something that we weren't privy to, and we know how hard everybody in this photo, Craig Gillespie, Peter Safran, Millie Alcock, James Gunn, work to not only get to where they are, but to also stay where they are and move forward in their careers. It's not easy to be in their positions, and they are a 0.0001% of the total number of people that try to get to where they are in their careers. So that being said, still, when a movie that you spent $170 to $180 million making, which even if that was lower, but after like tax credits and stuff, you still, spent like $120 million in marketing it, you are roughly $300 million all into this project. That's a major Hollywood studio tentpole in, today's, Hollywood, the movie business. And at that level, I was like, I think it's okay if we try to point the blame, like who's responsible? Because I was thinking about, all right, so when James Gunn announced the slate, he said, we're going to be adapting the Woman of Tomorrow comic. So I was like, it's not like Ana Nogueira, like I know he said like Ana Nogueira pitched this and stuff, but I'm like, I feel like James Gunn is ultimately like going to be, and Peter Safran made the decision to adapt that comic. And then we have later on found out that when Ana Nogueira was first asked to do this movie, she said no, because she had just come back from her maternity leave in the DC, the DC studios, in the Warner Brothers, writing development team. And she had already written 2 different Supergirl movies before that never got made. And she had done some work for Sasha Kaya's Supergirl in The Flash. And you mentioned she's a script doctor. She's done that before. She doesn't have any big feature credits outside of now Supergirl. And so she said no. And then they were like, no, I think this time they actually want to make it. And so then she did write it. And then so I'm like, James Gunn chose the comic. Then Ana Nogueira came in and wrote the story. And James was like, okay, this is good enough to now like make the movie. And then when Craig Gillespie came in, he told him, yes, do your vision. I'm like, why pick the Woman of Tomorrow graphic novel if then you're going to tell Craig Gillespie to just do his thing? And I'm sure Craig Gillespie told him, because he's talked about is very important to him to make it very clear what you want to do as a filmmaker on these big projects, because otherwise down the road you'll have trouble with the studio, which you ran into anyway. But so I'm like, the blame has to be on James Gunn and Peter Safran, because clearly they must have thought what Craig was pitching was great. until they saw, in post-production that the movie wasn't working. So I'm like, you picked the comic, then you bring in the writer who at first said no because she had done it many times before and nobody wanted to make any of those other iterations. Granted, that meant that she understood the character well because she has written so much of Supergirl in scripts that we will probably never get to see. But then, you encourage, like you said, John, Craig Gillespie to do his own thing, which Craig Gillespie said himself. Like, he was like, they let me run with it. And I was kind of surprised. And I was like, are you sure this doesn't really visually match what you got with Superman? But he's like, yeah, that's okay. We want, because I feel like James Gunn is like learning, like, hey, it's one thing to say that you're going to champion the director's vision and be a studio head which really champions creatives and their visions. It's another thing, in practice, where you do have to find the balance between making great movies that feel like their own things, yet at the same time feel cohesive in a cinematic universe. And I feel like this was the harshest lesson James Gunn and Peter Safran could have learned in that arena of like, we're going to make movies, we're going to empower directors to do their thing, and you should be able to watch Supergirl without needing to watch Superman, but they do belong in the same universe. Because clearly, they put in so much stuff here, like, that connects the dots. But, like, Craig Gillespie was like, there was a lot of, like, fight choreography I wanted to match with Superman, but everything else, I just wanted to do my own thing. And then, of course, Craig Gillespie makes the mistake of, like, not even referencing any of the artwork in the comic that it's meant to be a adaptation of. Nobody's saying it needs to be a page-for-page adaptation, but even loosely, you got to take some inspiration. It just felt like they were two completely different things, outside of some broad strokes, connections, which probably mostly came from the script. And then, of course, James Gunn and Peter Safran come in and be like, oh, this isn't working. We don't trust you, Greg or Craig, who they did, months before say, we want you to do your thing. And then they go and rehash it. And then you have two cuts and two editors. And all of a sudden, they still at the end went with something that ultimately was clearly a mediocre film. And now we are here with, this will be probably the biggest box office bomb for DC since The Flash. And the only reason The Flash was a bigger bomb is because they spent even more money on that movie. Like, this movie's going to make, half of maybe what The Flash ended up making. But it's going to lose probably $120, $150 million. That is just the worst kind of case scenario. It's even, I was mentioning at the start of the show, John, this is worse than the worst case scenario any of us could have imagined for Supergirl. And again, it's not the end of the world. They should continue with what they're doing, but I'm not saying you need to do course correction, like, major open heart surgery with DC Studios' approach. You just need to make some course corrections here. You need to change some things. Like, I think Enterprising making a good point. Maybe you do bring in another writer to work with on Aguera, or maybe you be like, okay, so let's do Wonder Woman, but then we will hand off Teen Titans to somebody else. Or like, maybe try to like fast track that Batman movie real quick, and then like, again, you gotta go with the bigger characters because the superhero genre isn't a home run genre anymore, and you need to be able to just showcase your big characters and then use them as the foundation to build the lesser known characters. So yeah, I know for a lot of people, Supergirl is better than the Flash. I'm just saying financially, it's about as going to be as big of a box office flop for the Warner Brothers and DC as the Flash was. But yeah, it also kind of, the movie also has now killed a lot of momentum that there were buildings in Superman Peacemaker season 2. Now Clayface, it just puts a lot of pressure on Clayface and Lanterns. But anyway, John, let's move on. We have some more bits of news that we'll probably get into before we finish up here.
But this was kind of funny because this is going back to the Lanterns thing, and they're like, "Hey, just like Supergirl."
Hey, look, test screenings were great. Nothing but good things from several people, and we talked about how test screening reports are hard to trust. So it didn't really work out for Supergirl.
Speaking of test screenings, though, this person was at a test screening, and
Supergirl,
and they were trying to ease everything going on, and then I can tell you for a fact that this isn't an Ayer cut or Snyder cut situation at all. There was maybe a scene or two that they should have kept in, and the Krypton scenes were structured differently throughout the film. The film also ended with Kara flying off in her ship to Dreaming by Blondie. So that post-credit scene that was initially talked about by Gillespie was absolutely that Superman apartment scene, but outside of
Which
that,
have been just
there's
added
really
at the
nothing
end of
that
the
could have
movie.
been added or changed that would have improved the overall reception to the film in any meaningful way. If they put out Gillespie's cut, the people who love Supergirl still would have liked it. But if you didn't like Supergirl or thought it was just mediocre, the Gillespie cut would have not have changed your mind in the slightest. Craig Gillespie simply did not deliver.
Yeah. I mean, this person apparently was at a test screening in January, and the version they saw had. I mean, I think one of the things I've heard from other sources as well is that the Krypton sequences, everything with Argo City, was apparently going to be in different parts. Like it wasn't where it was in the movie. What we saw in theaters. Like at one point, it might have even been how the movie starts. So you kind of like in Man of Steel, you start on Krypton to kind of really get, rather than doing flashbacks, you kind of start more in a linear way, and you show where she was, then to where she got to. And yeah, it makes a lot of sense that because like John, it felt like that Superman apartment scene kind of felt a little tacked on at the end, and
It
it's also like
definitely
logically
felt
feels
so different
off.
tonally. It felt like it was
Yeah,
directed by James Gunn himself.
like it was
Like it
something
was
completely
so
different,
different.
like from the rest of the
Yeah.
movie. Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised if it was because they shot it on the same set for. I'm sure Man of Tomorrow is going to use that standing set for Superman's apartment again. So, it's just so interesting. It's really, you could tell again. I think the one thing you can learn from all of this is this movie was hacked up and re-put together so many times, which happens to some studio movies. But I think it's when we find out that it becomes more and more obvious that this is just this is clearly not the right way. By the way, this person happens to be a first assistant director in the industry, so maybe he was at like a friends and family screening of Supergirl, an early test
Right.
screening. So yeah.
But this person was saying Man of Tomorrow cannot fails goodbye, James Gunn DCU. But this person is saying, I don't know if MOT makes a billion, but it doesn't need to. It needs to be more than Superman, but it will. I'd say we're talking 750 to 850 region personally, and that will be success. Gunn personally will probably want it to do more than Guardians of the Galaxy 2, which did 869 at the box office. This version of Superman is beloved. James Gunn never misses. It also has Brainiac, Lex, Jon Stewart, Justice Gang, Supergirl. It's gonna be an event.
Yeah, like look, the pressure is on for Man of Tomorrow, but I think all of us expect Man of Tomorrow to be a much bigger movie at the box office. And this is just some random person on the internet saying, yes, it's not the end of the world, but Man of Tomorrow will, in general, is likely to deliver because it's got so much more going on. It's also James Gunn. I mean, dude, we did the James Gunn tier list. I don't think anything of his went into like C or D. I remember, right? It was like all S, A's, and B's
The
and
only
worse.
the only one neither of us could talk about was Super because neither of us had seen it. But
yeah, but it's like I feel like Man of Tomorrow is gonna be so that's a good sign, But like Man of Tomorrow is over a year away, so that's the other part of it is like we got a year for DC to try to like turn the ship around. So their next two things still need to be good. Otherwise, again, it's just gonna be like a lot of piling on happening for just not just weeks, for months and months. Because by this time next year, maybe people just like think Supergirl is a distant memory. But you know what? It wasn't a distant memory this week, John, because this past week, the Letterboxd crowd was really enjoying their Supergirl because it was one of the 10 most popular films. Now, do you think that's just because it's a new movie, or do you think
probably just
being the
it's a
most
new
popular
movie,
film
and I'm
was?
sure like a lot of people like to talk about it, hate watch if they don't like it, keep watching if they do. So,
Yeah, because I'm like, as somebody who is on Letterboxd, I want to get your opinion on this. Like, do you think Supergirl?
I mean, I haven't really
is it
noticed a
genuinely
lot of
liked?
people talking about Supergirl in
Yeah, a
terms
lot
of
of
my
people.
circles, but like, it's definitely, it's I think that's cool. I think that's cool,
Yeah. And you know what? Before we finish up, I know Enterprising asked this question a couple of times. I just want to bring this up and just, if you were in James Gunn, Peter Safran's position, how, or even David Zaslav's position, or even let's put yourself in David Ellison's position in a few months' time, how would you handle all of this moving? Like, what do you do moving forward? What decisions would you make? I mean, to like try to either correct the mistakes, or how do you recover from this DC Studios debacle that was Supergirl?
Well, first, I I try to fast track Wonder Woman. We'll get rid of Anna Aguero because she's barely written anything for it anyway. Get another writer.
She did say that
Try to
recently, that
fast
she's still
track
really
that.
early in that process.
Don't try to fast track Batman, only because Batman Part 2 is coming out, so don't try to do that. But try to fast track more well-known characters, maybe. And that kind of thing, or characters that people liked that we've already seen, like Mr. Terrific, like Jimmy Olsen. So, there's that as well. And with all of that, I maybe try to greenlight something Lobo related, since everyone pretty much mutually agreed that the two best parts of the movie were Millie Alcock and Jason Momoa as Lobo. So I would try to do maybe something like that. But yeah, I would learn from this. Try to get more veteran talent with like blockbuster experience. Get writers who more so know what they're doing, not just in comic book media, but just like experienced writers. Because clearly first time writers not gonna do well. So yeah, I think with all of that, I think that's how I would course correct everything. Is just, unfortunately, because even though it would be awesome to greenlight smaller characters, that's clearly not the way to make money, because you can't really do that anymore. You just got to go with the big characters, even though everyone's gonna complain, oh, you only do Batman movies. Yeah, it's like, we're gonna stop making Batman movies until you fucking stop going to them. Like, it's like, don't be shocked. It's like, oh my god, fucking stop making Batman movies. It's like, okay, when fucking Batman stops making $700 million at the box office post-COVID, then frankly, shut the fuck up, because it's like, oh, we only get Batman movies. And yeah, well, they make money, so shut the fuck up. It's like, oh, why do they keep making Minions movies? They fucking make money, bro. Like, that's simply how it is. If you don't want to see that shit, don't go to the movie. Don't pay for it. Simple as that. Crazy, I know. But yeah, it's just it's that's how it is. That's essentially how it is. Just so get more veteran talent, more A-list characters. Bada bing, bada boom. There you go. And try to sneak in like an experimental character, like a Clayface, like, in there somewhere, just to give it a little bit of zhuzh.
I mean, I agree with a lot of what you're saying. For me, I've been reading a lot about recently on the internet, and again, this may just be an internet thing, but a lot of people saying, big directors don't want to do stuff for DC. They're doing these random, smaller known characters. Who are you getting to direct these movies? Will big directors want to do stuff now? Because Craig Gillespie still kind of got blamed for a lot of these things, even though at some point he was not even responsible for how the movie was being edited and stuff. And then I've also heard a lot of people say like, oh yeah, they've missed out on a lot of A-list actors who have passed on these roles that we've talked about for months, whether it's Lanterns or Supergirl, other things in the DCU. It's still early going. I think I think this is where hopefully James Gunn can look back at the MCU and how Kevin Feige has approached things over the years. It doesn't always work out, but what Kevin Feige would do a lot, and I feel like even today, Destin Daniel Cretton did stuff before he got into the MCU, but he wasn't a prolific. But now he's like one of their guys, right? He's become, one of their golden boys, from Wonder Man to Shang-Chi to now, Spider-Man Brand New Day. It's just, it's one of those things where like James Gunn back in the day, they brought somebody in who was a good filmmaker, who had done stuff, who knew his shit, but he really hadn't had the opportunity to work at this level. And then Kevin Feige has a very heavy-handed approach, but that quality control obviously matters, because like even with the Russo brothers, they produce hot garbage outside of the MCU. So I'm like, the only through line between their good stuff in the MCU and not good stuff outside the MCU that's Kevin Feige. His input and his guidance and his oversight is clearly the magic sauce with what the Russo brothers do in the MCU, because outside of the MCU, across several studios from Amazon Prime to Netflix to whatever else they've done, nothing Agbo puts out that's not MCU related is particularly good or memorable. But in the MCU, it works well because Kevin Feige does that. I mean, John Watts, for example. John Watts is a great example. He parlayed his work on the Spider-Man trilogy with Tom Holland into other projects, from The Old Man with Jeff Bridges to many other like TV and movie projects that he took on. And he wasn't somebody who particularly had a huge resume before. Hi Chimera, hello. And there's other examples of that. I think in the DCEU, like Patty Jenkins was a great example. She didn't have a prolific resume, but she came in and did a great job with the first Wonder Woman movie. And I think that was one of those movies where she had a lot of input from Zack Snyder and from other producers at the time. And then by the time Wonder Woman 1984 was being worked on, DC's films were a mess. They had gone through it, fired Jeff Johns, and got rid of a lot of other people, and the Zack Snyder wasn't really around as much. And so Patty Jenkins kind of like took over and did a lot of the work herself. And we ended up with, like basically it's one of those things, like you said, like Zack Snyder is great at adapting other people's ideas when he's given a script and a vision. But he's not really great at like coming up all those things with himself. Like he's not as, you don't want Zack Snyder to be your ideas guy. You want him to be the guy who comes and executes your idea. I feel like Patty Jenkins kind of proved that a little bit. So, but nonetheless, the point I'm trying to make is like, I think moving forward, James Gunn and Peter Safran need to do, they can still go get auteurs like James Mangold if he wants to do a Swamp Thing. But Mangold has said several times now in public appearances that he honestly would prefer to do a Swamp Thing movie that was just his own thing without being in a cinematic universe. So we don't even know if whenever he does do that, I'm like, if he wants to do it and have it be its own thing, then let him do it. But I think then it works because then you can place the blame on him if everything goes sideways, but you can still supervise the project and make sure that it goes well. Although James Mangold more often than not doesn't miss, especially when he's doing his own thing. Then, I think Andy Muschietti coming in to do the Batman of a Christina Hodson script, I think given how not well Supergirl went, I would be worried that, Christina Hodson, even though she's more experienced, has bigger credits, her DCEU stuff was very hit or miss. And I understand that a script is not the final product. We've talked about it. It's a blueprint. But I would be worried that you bring in Andy Muschietti, whose only other superhero venture was The Flash, and then you have Christina Hodson, who wrote some of those DCEU movies. That feels like a bad combination waiting to happen. And I feel like with James Gunn, he's been very hands-on with that script, and I hope that's for the betterment of that story. But I also feel like, maybe they need to make some changes. They need some upgrades in those areas, because clearly the writer and the director have a big influence on what ultimately ends up happening. And James Gunn has mentioned before himself that it would be impossible, the craziness of him wanting to be a filmmaker and be a studio chief at the same time. He was like, even Walt Disney was more of a producer. What Kevin Feige does is he's a producer. It's unprecedented. So that's why he wanted Peter Safran along for the ride. But, Peter Safran is like more of a producer, like a physical production producer. He's not somebody he's not like an Amy Pascal who's going to be in on the ideas as deep as like somebody like an Amy Pascal, David Heyman. We're doing James Bond right now, did Spider-Man and, Harry Potter in their past jobs. So like, I feel like James Gunn ends up being the creative visionary, and it's a lot to do the creative visionary thing full-time and be a director full-time. So this is where I agree with some other people I've seen online say this. Like after Man of Tomorrow, like I know, James, you want to continue to make movies, but I think you need to take off a few years from directing films. Like even, Lord and Miller took like 5-6 years away from directing a movie before Project Hail Mary. And I know some of that time was spent directing Project Hail Mary.
8 years.
But it was a while. 8 years. Like, let's just say even if they spent 3 years directing Project Hail Mary.
Even then, actually, no, it might have been like 12 years because they were hired for Solo and then got fired. So technically, if we're counting like the half production of Solo, which was 2018, then it was 8 years. But if we're not counting that, then a full production is 12 years because the last one was 22 Jump Street. So
yeah, so I mean, like, and Lord and Miller have proven themselves to be perfectly amazing producers overseeing an entire Spider-Verse franchise, not to mention everything else that they're produced in between those, like Project Hail Mary and the Jump Street movie. So I'm like, I don't know, I'm not saying James Gunn don't direct a movie for the next 5-6 years, but I'm like, maybe take a couple of years. Like he literally went from, post-production on Superman to promoting Superman to pre-production on Man of Tomorrow not that long after. Like, did he really have I feel like he barely had a break from directing a movie from like when it comes to like screenwriting to pre-production. Like I remember he was talking about he was while they were in pre-production, he was storyboarding the shit out of that Man of Tomorrow. So I'm like, he's basically been nonstop working on directing a movie, and between that, he did Peacemaker episodes, and he's been involved with Creature. I'm like,
just got off, fucking
it's too
Guardians
much.
3, and then the Suicide Squad, and
it's literally too much. Like it's just like when was this break? When are you gonna be just a studio head? That's your job. Like, because I'm like, it's gonna become more and more of a problem down the road if other projects that are not directed and produced and written by James Gunn keep failing, because you need quality control. I feel like a couple of years away from directing things, I think Jennifer Holland would appreciate it because James will be around more and be awake more. I think he's mentioned that before. Like I wouldn't be surprised if like this pace at doing things, despite the fact that Jennifer Holland like is very supportive of him. Like it's difficult for a partner when you're, like he said, he's mentioned it before. He's like, I'd be on vacation and just be at the hotel writing stuff. And then, my wife would tell me like, can you just be present today? So, and then he was like, I finally get to do that. But I'm like, it's not really taking time off from doing, directing a movie if you only do it for 2 months. And then you go right back into doing the next thing. So, like, and don't run to social media. Like, I would like for James Gunn to just be the co-CEO of DC Studios for a little while after Man of Tomorrow. Really build that out before you jump into because they already have plans for the next thing after that. And I'm like, so what are you going to do? Like have that come out in 2030? Because that means you're not getting a break, like, or 2028, 2029, like if he's going to go right into it. So anyway, that's just where, if I were in their position, I would say James Gunn, take a break from directing, be just a producer, co-CEO for a little while, and you got to have that quality control, and you got to go find that young talent that's ready to take that next step up. Like who was it? Was it Zach Krieger who said he wanted to do a DCU or DC movie or he had
like
an
he
idea
mentioned like a Joker movie or something like that. Like I'm
like, he's too busy to do this stuff, but I'm like, as somebody of the Zach Krieger ilk, who's an up and coming name with a couple of big projects under their belt, bring them in, and then
Barker.
Yeah, Curry Barker. I think Curry Barker would be a good one. I mean, I don't know if he has any ideas that he wants to take on, but
James Gunn, you could always call me.
Yeah. I mean, a possibility for Batman as well as a fan cast. John was definitely on that list. A Batman with a beard.
I was gonna mention something about kind of ending on a more positive note, but I think we're already way too past that point. So let's just.
The positive note being don't be like Caleb. Don't hate on great movies.
No, nothing like that. But that's it for today, ladies and gents.
Okay.
But we tomorrow is Tier List Tuesday and DCU Daily and all that fun stuff.
I mean, what's the winning topic right now? I feel like we have.
I don't even fucking know. I haven't
really
checked.
Big lead. Let's take a look. Actually, no, it's kind of tight. Currently, Supergirl live action is in the lead.
Okay.
Yeah, your triple-digit votes coming in, and we'll be ranking Supergirl actors, I'm guessing, or Supergirl iterations. Are we doing Supergirl iterations?
Yeah, like essentially Helen Slater, Laura Vandervoort, Melissa Benoist, Sasha Calle, and Millie Alcock. So,
well, comic book movie action sequences part 2 is in a close second right now, with 39% of the vote. So that's gonna be the topic. Well, Supergirl live action is gonna be the topic, but yeah. Oh yeah, I know you're still here, Caleb. Don't be like Caleb. Caleb, don't be like Caleb, and then we won't have to talk about it anymore.
Swiper, no swiper.
All right. I want to do a Wonder Woman director fan casting. We'll put that back on the list.
I think we already did that. So
did we?
Fucking rewatch
No, we put it on the list, but I don't think it ever won. Did it?
No, I remember because Nia DaCosta was one of the choices. I remember doing that.
Okay. Well, maybe we can do like a redux. Who knows? Anyway.
Or not.
All right. We'll see you guys tomorrow.
Fucking do things.
John's gonna be on that list.
Failed that with DCU Batman. It's just like, let's not redo stuff. Like, let's just keep it as is. There's only so many.
The ghost of Alfred Hitchcock will direct Wonder Woman. That's gonna be what that's gonna look. That episode is gonna look.
Yeah. Anyway,
that's it. All right. Well, I think we have come to the end of the show finally after almost 3 hours. Chimera saying it's really isn't debatable, Jalen. I'm trying not to be rude. I mean, this is the most sincere way. Her writing was just bad. Yeah, I know Chimera really didn't like the writing of the movie. But yeah, you know what, guys? Thank you for joining the show. Please do hit the like button on your way out. We'll see you tomorrow. And I'm sure we'll be talking about more Supergirl and among other things. So until then, have a great night, have a great morning, evening, wherever you are. And of course, stay curious. Don't forget to look up and look out, or just like Supergirl, whatever.
It's another project that's been blessed from the beginning.
There's the shot right there. That.
Okay, we don't need to see.
Right there.
Hey, buddy. Eyes up here.
Now you want to get nuts? Let's get nuts. Here we go.
Victory mine. Ask me how am I doing? I'm telling you, really, I'm doing sublime. I never wait in a stewardess line. I just go do it. I'm moving my time. Really had nothing to do with it. How am I moving? I'm moving like you wanna shine. Follow my lead. Don't listen to lies. I had to put me all in the line. That's why I know that victory's mine.
I prefer Jared Leto. Hunka hunka!
And remember, fuck David Ellison, Jeff Snyder, and Tom King.